Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. The show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 86 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for April 2024. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor here at the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me today, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Pearson. Now, I gotta apologize for some of the noise real quick. Our yard guys are here, Tim, so they're actually working on the yard in the background.
It's a real life live show.
Exactly, yeah. I don't schedule these guys. They come kind of whenever they have time. So, I mean, it is what it is. Tim, we're gonna work through it. Hopefully, it won't pick up too much of the background noise, but anyway, Tim, how are you?
I'm great, but first of all, something special today. We got to go ahead and go into it. It's Jonathan's birthday today, so we want to wish him on today.
On today?
So we're celebrating your birthday today, so everybody in the chat room can give Jonathan a happy birthday shout out. I know you probably had all the Facebook messages today.
I haven't responded to any of them yet.
Friends calling, parents, and all that stuff, so happy birthday. But I'm doing good. I've actually had a really good day. It's just been one of those beautiful days. Now, I'd rather been fishing, but I had to work, but it was just the right temperature. It was about 75 degrees most of the day and sunny and everything. So we'll see how the rest of the week turns out. We know we got an event coming up on Monday.
Right.
We'll see if it's going to be cloudy or not, but we'll see how many people show up around here. They're saying a lot of people are coming for the eclipse that's going to happen.
Yeah, so we're in the path of totality, which means that here we're going to have 100% eclipse of the sun. And so for what, 2 minutes, something like that, 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are coming in for that. Supposedly, Tim, that Texas is going to see an influx of tourism in upwards of 1 million people. So if you're traveling to Texas to see the eclipse, we wish you safe travel. Hopefully it'll be clear enough for you to actually see something. Like Tim mentioned, it is supposed to be cloudy here, which is not great. But, it is what it is, Tim. And we'll make the best of it. No matter what, though, I mean, if it's going to get dark. It doesn't matter if you can see it actually or not. It will be dark. So there you go. But we are in the path of totality for that. And thank you, Tim, for the birthday. And yes, birthday greeting. And I have had lots of birthday greetings for everybody. I do want to thank everybody for those. It's been a good one so far. I did work today because I'm an adult, and that's what adults do on their birthday, I feel like. But Tim,
on a Thursday, right?
Right, exactly. So many exciting things going on. We have the eclipse coming up on Monday. Tim, we have WrestleMania coming up this weekend.
That's
I know
right.
If you're not a wrestling fan, you don't get that, but I'm wearing one of my favorite wrestler shirts tonight in honor of that.
I saw that.
And so we will be doing that as well. But we do want to thank everybody for being here tonight, especially those of you in the live chat. Tim, I'm going to go ahead and come over here real quick and see who all we have. And it looks like Encore's Arcade is here, Jumping General is here, The Real Hammer Billy Lee is here, Digital Jazz Arcade is here, Millstar Electronics is here, Paul Duray is here, Tim, Angelina is here, Delusionals Arcade is here, Nate Berg is here, Current Phonograph is here, golly, I feel like everybody is here tonight, golly guys, and you didn't even know it was my birthday. Regzer Show is here, so we've got quite a few people here. Did I miss anybody? Geek Light 08 is here, and yes, he says awesome LA Knight shirt. Yeah, that's exactly correct, Tim. LA Knight. So, but anyway, we're looking forward to a great show. We have a normal show, Tim. I didn't cut it. I was very tempted to. I was like, my birthday, maybe we'll cut it. But I was like, no, we got to give a full show to everybody on my birthday, too. So, what was it? Last year, it was on your birthday, right?
I think so, or yeah, it was.
I think it was last year. Last year we actually did a live show on Tim's birthday. So
we did.
Just kind of ended up this way that this year we do it on my birthday. So there you go. But we are glad that you guys could join us tonight. And we're looking forward to a wonderful show. So hopefully you guys can stay tuned. And we do want to remind you guys that if you want to interact with us during the show, leave those messages, your comments and questions in the live chat. And we'll get to those as the show moves along. So Tim, anything else before we get started?
No, I'm just ready to get started. We'll get right into the questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, especially a lively chat room over there tonight. We hope that we can help you with your game repairs, and we just have a little bit of fun along the way.
Yes, and let us talk to you tonight about some arcade repair tips, right, Tim?
Yeah.
See, I got to throw in some LA Knight references tonight, so that's what we're going to be doing. In fact, Tim, this next game, we're going to talk about our outline real quick. And the first game we have, Tim, whose game is it?
Doug's
game. That is correct. So let's go ahead and get on to Doug's game real quick, and we'll answer Doug's question here. Hi, I currently own a PCB for Spider-Man the video game. I'm looking to use that PCB in a new cabinet as the cabinet it came in is not the original cab. Plus it is too big to get through my basement door. And Tim, if you know 4-player arcade games, obviously guys, those control panels are very wide, so Doug's having some problems with that, it sounds like. So I've been made aware that they do not make a 4-player JAMA harness, as I have been in search for a new one for the PCB. Regarding this game and other 4-player JAMA games, how is this done, and if an adapter is used, which one should I get? Thank you. So Tim, we have Doug here, and it sounds like he's got this Sega Spider-Man video game. Okay, and this is a 4-player game for those of you guys who've not seen it. It's a really great game. But he has a cabinet, it's a 4-player, but it's too big. So he's going to downsize that cabinet, but he's wondering how he can hook up the additional players. He's like, I'm looking for a 4-player JAMA harness, but I can't find one. So what do we need to do in order to hook up this Sega Spider-Man video game PCB in another cabinet?
Well, first of all, we're going to answer his question because that's what he asked, but we also would recommend that most of the time, and we didn't always know this beginning, those control panels a lot of times will come off.
Right.
So, thus making your game skinny until I'm assuming the basement is wide once it gets down there.
Right.
So, before you totally go put it in a different one, usually it's just a couple bolts that take off that control panel and some wires, of course, but there's usually connectors and stuff that you can take those off. You just take the control panel off, get it down the stairs, and then put it back on. So that would be my recommendation. But if he may have already converted or may be ready to, or already down the basement. So he's correct. The JAMA standard only allows 2-player cabinets. In order to add more players, he's going to need an adapter, right?
Right.
Or some kind of something that goes into
an additional
harness. That's what I'm trying to spit out. So he can get that. There's several people that still offer that, right?
Well, I looked for this one specifically, Tim, and I couldn't find one specific, but I think if you look around enough, you could probably find it. I can tell you what connectors you need to hook it to, and you may just be able to order like a connector with the number of pins that you need, and then wire it up from there.
Right.
And so that may be the best way to do it.
It's not a lot of wiring, and you can just wire it straight from there. So if you want to go ahead and bring up that slide, I know you did some research on this, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, so when we look at this, guys, this is correct. The JAMA standard only supports 2-player cabinets natively. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. In order to add more players, additional connectors are required. In the case of Spider-Man, the video game, there are 3 connectors. And, Tim, I've got them here on the outline. And they're CN2, CN3, and CN4. Okay, so the CN4, I believe, controls the start buttons on this. And the CN2 and 3 control the actual controls. So the joysticks and then the buttons. So you will need to wire these up to the players 3 and 4. These connectors are located on the to the left of the main JAMA harness connector. If you're looking with the JAMA harness at the top of the board, then you'd look directly to your left. You'll see these 3 connectors. It's kind of on a board that's raised off of it. Separate breakout board that kind of connects down to the board. It kind of sits on top of the board, and so you will need to use those connectors to wire them up. You can find this information on page 25 in the manual. And Tim, I do have the link to the Sega Spider-Man manual right here, and also in the show notes for this. But you will need those in order to do it. Now, if you're ripping this out of an arcade that already had 4 players wired up, you can probably just take the harness out of that cabinet, right, Tim?
Yes, that'd be the easiest thing. That's what I was thinking. It's like, if you're just downsizing the cabinet, use everything that's in there.
Right.
But there's a couple details that he's leaving out that we're not sure. So my main thing would be to just take the control panel off and use the game you currently have.
Sure.
But if you're going to, just take the guts out of it and put it into another one would be the easiest way. Now, he may already have a cabinet in mind and he's thinking it's already wired. Well, you got the connectors right there. You could just take them off and still use it. But we try to keep things as original as possible.
Yeah, so there you go, Tim. So on the 4-player cabinet, a lot of people don't like to do the wide panel 4-player games, Tim, because they take up so much room in their game room. It may not be, obviously he says he's having problems getting it through the door, but it may also be that he doesn't want that much room taken up in his game room.
Could be.
We're looking at my Blitz Showtime right now. You can see that it's got quite a bit. It takes a little bit more space than what your standard 2-player cabinet
Right,
takes
if somebody wants to play the game next to you, you're right on top of them, too.
But if you have like a gauntlet cabinet, which has all 4 players kind of almost more of in a circle, I would say, instead of in front of the cabinet, then something like that, you can cram a couple more around. So, I mean, it just depends. But it's kind of up to you. If you want to transfer this to another cabinet, it's not a problem. But hopefully the harnesses for that Sega Spider-Man game are in that original cabinet, and you can just take those and repurpose them. If not, you will need to find some harnesses that fit that. And I think, I didn't search real hard, Tim, to find them. I was just like,
you can make it pretty easily, and you've got the sample right there, the example of how to do it.
Right.
Might be some different colored wires that you have. You got extra wires or anything, but you can buy those. So you want to count the number of pins and then get the right connector. but it wouldn't be hard to do at all. And we've got some videos on how to wire up stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, Doug, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting your Sega Spider-Man video game transplanted into another cabinet, or just taking off the control panel on the one you currently have and moving it in. You could go that way as well. So, okay, Tim, I'm going to come over to the live chat real quick. Got a lot of happy birthdays. Thank you guys for the happy birthdays just right off the bat. Let's see. The Duke of Bung says, any idea where to find a Cruising Exotica link cable? I can't find one online. Now, Tim, I was under the impression that these were standard network cables. Am I wrong with that?
That's what I think. Just a normal networking cable is all it is.
Right.
I don't remember it being anything specific. In fact, several that have broken before. I just went down into the computer store and just got another networking cable.
Does it have to be crossover? Do you know?
I don't remember, John.
Okay.
But I remember what I did was I took the cable to the guy and I'm like, I need another one.
like
And he
this?
was like, here you go.
Right. So you could probably look at the ends and see.
Somebody may know.
I was about to say, the manual should tell you what kind you need. If you need a crossover, it's a little bit different, but you can find them usually. And you can make your own, of course, if you cross over the correct pins, which I can't remember off the top of my head. Or if you don't want to use crossover, you can just go both cables directly to a switch. So if you take standard networking cable and go directly into a switch, that does the same thing. So, but it just requires a switch instead of having the crossover where you can connect directly. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for. So, but yeah, you should be able to grab that. You should be able to get, I think it's a crossover that you'll need if you want direct connect. And I think you have to use standard network if you have, if you want a switch involved. So, and Nate says he knows his Rush has to be crossover cable. Yeah. Okay. So I know a lot of games, if you're going to do direct, have to be the crossover style networking cable. And so if that's the case, you can buy one of those.
Game specific stuff like that probably have controls. If you call and tell them you need a linking cable for that game, they probably have it.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Now it's going to be expensive probably,
right?
But you could do that for sure. So let's see what else we have here. Derek says, I have three 4-player machines, an NHL Open Ice, NBA Jam, and Blitz 99. They are big and take up a lot of room. Right. So in the space of those 3 games, Tim, you could put 5 2-player games.
Probably so, yeah.
You know, and so a lot of people will, will kind of limit the number of 4-player games they have in their game room due to that. And we even see this with the Arcade 1-Up people, because the Arcade 1-Up has like the 4-player decks and has the 2-player decks. It's the same kind of thing. So, I mean, it just depends on how you prioritize space in your game room as to, what kind of cabinets you put in there, right?
Sure.
So,
but it's always fun when you're having a party, at least have one 4-player game, because that seems like the one people gravitate to, because everybody can play at one time.
And I like the ones that have a lot of replayability, and the ones that Derek mentioned are all ones that have very good replayability, like NHL Open Ice, Tim, of course, and NBA Blitz, and NBA Jam, and NFL Blitz. Both those games, you get 4 people around those games, it's just fun. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even if you guys aren't really great at the game, it's still a lot of fun to play.
For sure.
And nothing against like the side-scrolling beat-em-ups, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. Once you beat them, Tim, you kind of beaten them, right? It's like, this is the thing. But with NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, different game depending on who you're playing, right? So, good stuff. Current photograph, do 4-player games make twice as much money as 2-player games? I think it would depend on location.
Yeah, in the game, back in the day, they always seemed to do good. Not because they were 4-player, but because they were quarter eaters.
Yep.
A lot of them required to continue. You kept having to put another quarter in. I just think of Ninja Turtles, just having that pocket full of quarters, keep dumping them in there because I wanted to stop, didn't want to get to the end. So a lot of it depends on the game and how it's set up. So, I would say, yeah.
NFL Blitz, NBA Jam both required you to coin up for every quarter, typically.
Right.
And so every quarter you had to put more money into the game, and so that's the way that they...
And you want to keep playing or keep challengers coming, you keep putting quarters in. So, naturally, any game like that that you had to pay to continue, whereas Galaga next to it, somebody might be really good playing for 10, 15 minutes or longer on one quarter, while that 4-player game's already consumed 10 or 20 quarters,
Absolutely. Nate says, if you get 4 folks playing, honestly, as an arcade operator, I feel a lot of 4-player games never get the 4 people playing, just 2 people. And that's probably correct most of the time. Now, when I was a kid, Tim, we would have 4 people around that Ninja Turtles game quite often.
Right.
But nowadays, I don't know if you have 4 people playing.
Not quite the same.
Like, I played the new Ninja Turtles by Raw Thrills, the one that's about to be released for home consoles. And every time I've played that, I maybe had one other person playing with me.
Right.
I don't think I've ever had an instance where we were all playing,
yeah.
right? It's a little bit different, so... and Nate says, only 4-player game that actually makes money is NBA Jam, Ninja Turtles, X-Men. That's about it, he says. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the location. In different locations, different 4-player games would do well. And I've seen times where Sunset Riders, Tim, was making a ton of money. There was a time like Sunset Riders was very popular, and still a lot of people have fond memories of that, especially people who are my age that grew up with that in their game rooms. I was trying to think of some other 4-player games outside of that. X-Men was a big one for us, Tim.
Yeah, I would say X-Men always seem to do good. And you had the 6-player X-Men,
exactly.
That
with
was
the two 25-inch monitors
yeah.
that you see now, for sure, that was one.
We used to really put a lot of quarters into that.
Right. So, I mean, those Konami games are pretty good for the most part, but I don't, like, NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, I think, replayability-wise, probably better.
Simpsons made good back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Simpsons did pretty well. Like I said, a lot of those Konami games just overall did pretty well. So, and of course, X-Men's kind of having a resurgence right now, Tim, with the animated series and X-Men 97 and everything. So, it's good to see that. I think the arcade game is actually referenced in one of the episodes, which is kind of cool. Okay, let us continue on, guys, with the next question from Robert. And Robert says, I have a steel gunner cabinet that has a marquee and attract lamps in the marquee area. The main marquee runs off 120 volts AC that I have checked with a multimeter. The attract lamps, and he says 6 small bulbs, are running on 24 volts DC, and those have been checked as well. I replaced the marquee with an LED bulb and all is good. However, the attract lamps on DC power won't show any brightness. I can see the filament glowing, but it won't produce any real light. What am I missing to get these properly lit? Can I just run them off of the existing 120 volts AC along with the marquee? Thanks for all you do for us newbies to the hobby. So, Tim, we have Robert here with a steel gunner cabinet. And I believe Robert actually wrote in last month, Tim, about his steel gunner, too. I forget what the question was off the top of my head. But this is just another one. So we have this marquee that has a regular standard, like, marquee light, okay, that we normally would have, like one of the little straight bulbs, that he's replaced with an LED. And then we have 6 of these small bulbs that run off the 24 volts DC. So they're really dim, he says. So what do you think is going on? What can Robert do in order to make sure that these bulbs are working properly? He's getting good voltage off of them.
Well,
or good brightness off of them.
Anytime I would put a bulb in I think back in the Chuck E. Cheese days, and we had those games, that had like marquee or chasing lights around and stuff like that. Anytime that I had a bulb that was dim, even a coin door bulb, I mean, it basically boiled down to 2 things. Either you're not running enough voltage, and he says he's got the right voltage.
Correct.
My guess then is he doesn't have the right bulb. So what happened, he probably inherited it like this.
Sure.
He's trying to fix it. So probably what happened is somebody just got it's a red bulb. They went and got one. Maybe they got a 120 bulb. You're only running 24 volts, which would not make it very bright. Now, he could, like he's saying, what we need to know is what kind of bulb and what voltage does it require.
So, multimeter-wise, we know the voltage is 24 volts DC. He says that's checked with a multimeter.
So, the quickest and easiest fix is to find some 24-volt bulbs. He probably has 110 bulbs or something up there. It's not enough voltage to make them light up very bright. That would be my guess. He asked, could he run 120 over there? Well, you could, but you'd really be doing some more hacking than necessary. I think you probably have the wrong bolts. If your voltage is right, then something's got to be wrong with that bulb, or it's not the right kind. And so he needs to find some 24-volt bulbs that will do that, and they should light up quite a bit brighter once it gets the right voltage in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have here, Tim, I think is exactly what you're talking about. I think we have some bulbs here that may have been installed that use a little bit more voltage than what is actually being outputted by the game. And so let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, I think you said, when I picture that, I was picturing like the game Sports Arena, where it flashes and goes around and you stop it or something, right?
Uh-huh. So what you need to do, Robert, is make sure that you're using the correct bulbs for the voltage, okay? In this case, the 24 volts DC. If the bulbs are currently installed, if they look too dim, it typically means that they are expecting a higher voltage than what is being supplied by the socket. While we are not familiar with Steel Gunner specifically, a common game that tends to use bulbs with this voltage is the redemption game Sports Arena, Tim. And as we know, Sports Arena is very common. We see them all over the place. If you've never seen a Sports Arena before, just look around at there for a while, Tim, I felt like pretty much every location had one that had a crane. If there was a crane, there was probably a Sports Arena too. It's kind of settled down a little bit, but they're still very popular. These bulbs can be purchased from most arcade parts suppliers. Of course, you will need to check to make sure the socket size is the same and that it will fit your marquee. But I do have a link here to those bulbs, Tim, on the Twisted Quarter website that you can get, and that's what they look like, Tim. And you can get them in red or you can get them in clear. because they make them in both. On Sports Arena, of course, the clear ones are used for like the non-winning bulbs, and the red ones are used for the winning bulbs. So it just depends on what you're going for there. They may make an LED equivalent of this as well, Tim. I think this is still a filament style on this one, but there may be an LED equivalent of this as well. I didn't look. I just kind of I looked for a 24-volt bulb, and that's what I found, kind of thing. So anything else here for Robert before we move on, Tim?
No, I don't think so. I think it was Robert in the chat.
I don't know.
He may be. Yeah. Anyway, just email us back or catch up with us if you're still having issues. Just remember the base is going to have different sizes on different bulbs too, and you got to get the right base. That's one thing I like about the Hap Control catalog. I don't know if they still produce it, but if they do, they used to have a page and it showed all the... You could literally put the bulb base on there. It was the actual size. It was an A3 base or a G10 base or whatever it was, and you could kind of match it up sometimes.
There you go. So, just got to get that right base, that right bulb in there, and I think that'll probably solve the issue. So, Robert, hopefully answers your question, and good luck finding the right bulbs or changing out if you really want to do the voltage swap like Tim mentioned, you can do that. Run 120 out there, use some standard bulbs, that'd be appropriate too. But I really think that, like Tim said, going with just getting the right bulbs would probably be the easiest and fastest way to get it going again. Right?
I think so.
Sounds good. So hopefully answer your question. Good luck getting those marquee lights lit up bright on your Steel Gunner arcade game. Moving over to the live chat, Tim. Real Hammer Billy says, I currently purchased a reproduction Konami 4-player cabinet that he'll be turning into a Konami Crime Fighters. Another one of those great 4-player Konami games, Tim. Let's see. Nate Berg says, if it's not, special toss it and get an LED and be done with it. I guess that's talking about the LEDs.
Yeah.
The Delusional says it's a Firewire cable on Cruis'n Exotica. So okay. Firewire. So yeah, you should be able to go down to like a computer store, ask them for a Firewire cable, and they will do it. Firewire used to be very popular. It's kind of gone out with the advent of USB-C and some of the newer standards, but most dedicated computer places should still be able to give you a Firewire cable.
Okay.
When I say it fast, I feel like my Texas comes out.
Right.
Firewire.
A
Firewire. You get a Firewire cable. I don't know. It just seems like it comes out automatically. I can't help it.
I reckon.
Exactly. Digital Jazz Arcade. He suggests going to LED. Yeah, you may be able to find LED bulbs in that 24-volt DC. In fact, that's probably pretty common. I didn't look for them, but they're probably out there if you want them. So... and yeah, you can get tired of the fluorescent bulbs last a long time, but they don't last as long as the LED in my experience.
No,
so
not near as long.
And the LED bulbs they make now are way better than the ones that they made at the beginning when the technology was still new. They made a lot of improvements on that. So.
For sure.
Okay, I think we're caught up, Tim. Cool. So okay, let us go ahead and move on to our next question. Now, I actually already answered this question.
Okay.
But I wanted to throw it on here because I really want to get your input on this because I know what I think or what I believe to be true, but I was like, Tim would probably have a better idea, so I wanted to throw this to you. And this is from our friend Greg, the Regzer Show, and he says, I believe the Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of 81 Reunion Cab had leaf switch buttons or buttons since there's really just one. Can you confirm? Also, does that mean the Player 1, Player 2 start buttons also had leaf switch buttons? I believe I can get them from Arcade Shop if needed. Now, I can't answer that last half pretty well. You can get leaf switch buttons from Arcade Shop,
sure,
as well as so many other parts suppliers. We have tons of them who still sell the leaf switches. But Tim, he's thinking that they came originally with leaf style switches, and I remember Microswitches. And that's why I was like, I'm going to make sure. I'm going to throw this to Tim.
The problem is that I've seen very few dedicated ones. They were all either the class of 81 or you had just the kits. They sold like crazy. So I've seen them in every cabinet known to man, and kind of depended on, like, if I saw them in a Miss Pac cab, a lot of times they did have those. But you might remember our friend Mike did have a cocktail one, and I think it may have actually had a leaf switch on the joysticks for sure, and on the fire buttons. I'm pretty sure it did. That's just going off of memory, though, Greg. I really wish I could remember. It's been so many years since we worked on it, and a lot of games in between time. But basically, doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want to with yours, and I know why he's saying true gamers, especially players, they love those leaf switch style.
Oh, yeah.
And so either way, it can be converted if it's not. But I think most of them I've ever seen were the not leaf switches, but I remember one dedicated one cocktail. I'm pretty sure it did have leaf switches in it. But boy, that is just real, and I could be totally off, on that.
Well, and another thing we don't know, Another thing we don't know is that did it come that way, or did whoever buy it retrofit it with leaves? And that's the problem. Yeah. I've never seen one of these things actually out of the box.
Right.
Like I wasn't there to unbox one of these, and so I have no idea if they actually came with leaves or if they actually came with microswitches. I can tell you if you search, pretty much anyone who recommends a replacement for that joystick recommends the microswitch version.
Yeah, it's usually a microswitch, and I think that realistically, think about when it came out. When it came out, everything was microswitch.
Correct.
It's like everything had converted over to that. I think the players prefer it, but operators, of course, prefer the microswitch.
Right.
So it's a really toss-up there, Greg. I don't remember. But, of course, if you like the leaf switch style, you can put them in there. It won't matter.
Exactly. And so that's what...
You might have to do a little bit of adjustment to to bore the hole or something, but I think they'll fit right in. I don't think you'll have any problem.
Yeah. And if anybody... let's see. Paul says microswitch, and he's owned several. And, you see, and that's the thing, like... I just remember microswitches.
That's really
what comes to mind. I know you said you saw the cocktail. Maybe the cocktail came with leaves.
Maybe.
That's possible too.
And it may be that I'm thinking it's a dedicated cocktail. It was a beast. It was a big old cocktail.
That one was. Like the original dedicated ones were.
Huge.
Yeah.
But then again, we're just going from memory. It's been so long ago. If it had been last week, I'll probably have a hard time remembering, much less something from several years ago.
Sure. So I'm going to go ahead and...
But maybe somebody has one in the chat or something that could tell us.
Delusional says reunion cabs have switches, and that's what I told Regzer too here. I said we believe that the joystick and buttons were microswitched based on the Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of '81 cab. Of course, this is based on our not so reliable memory. I did say that, so take that with a grain of salt. However, we've never seen a Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of '81 cabinet straight out of the box. And it's possible that operators replaced the joysticks and buttons with a different brand or type after the original controls wore out. With that said, you could definitely install leaf switch-based controls if that's what you prefer. But yeah, if you look at what the replacement is, like if you look at Suzo Hap and you look up Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of '81 joystick replacement, it's going to be this picture right here.
Yeah.
Okay, which has the microswitch base. And now we have confirmation from Delusional and Paul, which makes me feel even better.
Okay.
So I think we're good here that more than likely this is a microswitch. Now, with that said, you saw a cocktail.
Yeah, the cocktail that I saw, and I should preface it with this, I thought it was a homebrew something when I saw it. Right. I thought it was a MAME or something. And then I got to look at the stickers, and we did a little research, and it was a dedicated. But because it was dedicated, we literally bought it one weekend, cleaned it up, got a few things working on it, and probably sold it the next weekend. Me and Mike picked that up one time, and the guy had a Mazzio's Pizza, I think, and it was in it original, or bought it new, and it looked like new. And so it was kind of a quick flip for us, just to make a little extra cash. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it either.
Well, I feel good with everyone saying in the live chat that it was microswitch.
Yeah.
Because that's what I told him.
But I'm sure he's asking because he would like to probably have the leaf switch, right? Am I right, Greg? Because he likes the way it fires and stuff better, and or it feels better, so you can replace it. Doesn't matter. It's
Absolutely.
fine. The game won't know.
Absolutely.
Game won't care.
So there you go. So, Greg, hopefully answers your question. I believe the stand-up units were microswitch with a possible exception for the cocktail cabinets being leaf. But do what you want. Decide what you want to go with. If you really want that nice feel of the leaf switch like what you get the classic games, then definitely go that route. Install leaves. Otherwise, you can go with the microswitch base. It's up to you. And he's here, Tim. He says, thanks all. It makes sense microswitches because it came out 20 years later. Was surprised because Galaga players like the leaf switch shooter button. And that's true. I have heard that. But like I said,
remember, it
was
made to make money, not time for you to play forever.
Right.
Or they probably got smart and tried to make it that way.
And Delusional says Groovy Game Gear has leaf switch replacement joysticks, which are great for those, called the Pac Pro. Highly recommended. We've used Groovy Game Gear stuff in the past. That's good stuff. So definitely recommend ordering from them. Like I said, we've used some of their keyboard encoders and other things. Been very happy with their products.
Yeah, but great question. We like the question.
For sure. So and Greg was here. So there you go. But the cocktails, with the exception of the cocktail, like Tim mentioned. So.
And that's just, like I said, we're not talking about last week. It was probably at least 5 years ago that we got one, or just quickly one weekend.
Yeah,
we worked
exactly.
on it.
There you go. Okay, Tim. Well, let us continue on with our next question from AJ. Okay, and AJ writes, "Hello, so I have a Centipede that the CRT monitor has gone out on, and so I'm doing the CRT to LCD conversion, and as I cannot afford to get my CRT fixed. I have attached some pictures of how I have tried to wire it up, but nothing is coming up on the screen. The no signal has disappeared off the LCD, but nothing is playing. I watched a video of how the gray wire is supposed to go into pin 12 on the lower connector, which is supposed to be the sync wire. Please look at my pictures and let me know what I'm doing wrong. Thanks. Thank you, AJ." So, Tim, here are the pictures. And unfortunately, Tim, we don't have these pictures weren't really great at showing us what was going on with AJ's stuff. I can tell you that I wrote AJ back, and we've gotten some new pictures. I wasn't able to put them on the timeline, on the outline in time, but I got a better idea of what he's trying to accomplish. And he does have picture now, which is good. So, but you can see here, Tim, it does look like this, and this is one of the things I was wanting to make sure of. He is using the composite sync output on that bottom harness. Okay. Because sometimes the sync that's hooked up to the monitor will either be the horizontal or vertical separate syncs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes because Centipede actually has both of them outputted. It outputs it has a pin for horizontal sync, it has a pin for vertical sync, and has a pin for composite sync. Right. And if you're hooking up to the converter board, you will need the composite sync. Okay. Now, Paul's over here saying, no, keep the CRT. And, of course, Tim, that's what we would tell AJ.
Yeah, and he's saying that he couldn't afford to repair it. Paul's actually really reasonable. We would definitely say that. And definitely more cheaper than buying an LCD, unless... I'm assuming he put one in that he already had.
Yes, and that's what it looked like, Tim. It looked like it was just an off-the-shelf LG. So if you already had that, and then the converter board is only like $30-$40, okay? But $30-$40 plus a $100 monitor is, $130? And for a little bit more, or maybe around that, Paul could probably fix your monitor, right?
For sure.
But if you have a monitor lying around, we understand that. But obviously, we would encourage you to keep the CRT in there. But since you're not going that route, we're going to try to help you out here, Tim. So... He was having sync problems. It sounds like the sync is kind of going now. He's got everything hooked up. He does have picture now, Tim. The latest that I got back from AJ was that he has a picture, but he's getting kind of a green, almost like a solid green screen sometimes. Yeah. And it looks like he's missing the color red entirely. Now, with that information, what advice can you give to AJ here?
Well, we were talking on it based on the way he was doing it. He was kind of just testing it. He was just kind of sticking the wires up in there. Yeah, realistically, the only way to get a true is to go by...
True connection.
The true connection is to wire it straight, to wire them together. Not unless you've got two really good connectors, and I would probably, if it was me, I would probably make a whole new connector, new Molex connector, and plug them in. But if you're not going to be taking it out anytime soon, you might as well just... wire the wires together. You've got to get a better connection. You're going to get some of the stuff that he talked to us about.
Yeah, especially on that red. It looked like the last picture he sent us, and like I said, I wish I could have put it on the outline for you guys, but it looked like the red was just totally gone. Right. And so, but you can see the way he's kind of pushing the wires up into that connector. There's a pretty good chance that you're not getting a great connection there.
Right.
I mean, just because you're trying to push those up. So if you want to do that, probably the best thing to do would be to buy like a set of header pins, and then solder the wires to the header pin bottoms, and then clip the connector on the top instead of just sticking the wires up inside the connector. Yeah. Because just sticking wires up into the connector does not guarantee that you're going to have a great connection. And like I said, that really looks like all the problems that you're having right now seem to be more related to that now that we've gotten to the point where we actually have a picture. Right. So
he's made a lot of progress on it. And also we got to keep in mind that this was not designed to be in an arcade game. That's why guys, if you've watched the show at any length of time, we always recommend, if you're going the LCD route, that you get one that's made for arcade games.
Right. Commercial grade, arcade quality.
Exactly. This one is going to have some problems down the road, overheating or causing other issues. Plus, you're going to have to turn it on every time you want to play. And if you don't make it to where the button's easily pressed or you can reach it with a remote, it's going to kind of be of a pain. So, again, we're going to still recommend that you get an LCD and then it would be easier to wire up actually.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, here's the thing with that though. He's already got the converter board. Okay, he's already invested in the converter board. Another thing about these converter boards, Tim, they're cheap. They're manufactured cheap, and they have problems across the board. We've had problems with.
Yeah, so it could. That was my next thing to say is it could be the converter board. They're not very good, not super reliable. I mean, if 1 out of 10 fails, well, your chances were probably good that you got one that's no good anyway.
Right, exactly. And just make sure, obviously, that you've got it hooked up properly on the converter board end too. I mean, that's another thing. But I'm going to go ahead and put up what we were going to talk about here because I did want to throw that up there.
Okay.
Paul says over here that for around 150 to 160, he can fix it if it's a G07.
Right.
150, 160, you can get it fixed.
Right. But Paul would probably accept you, but he won't send it to you till you pay him, so you could pay him out or something
That's right.
if you had to. But it's definitely worth it. And then you're saving also that piece of history and keeping it original certainly will make it look good, will play really good and look fantastic.
Absolutely. So I do want to bring this up here, Tim. Now I put some links too down below that we're going to reference here. The video output wires for Centipede should be located on the P19 harness connector, which you talked about, Tim. This is the smaller of the two harnesses connected to the game board. The composite sync, which most video converters boards use, is located at pin 12, solder side. And he actually mentioned that he did do that.
Right.
So you may need to insert a pin or wire into this location if one does not already exist. Tim, if you notice on the pictures here, he just kind of pushed that wire into it, which is not like the best way to do that, obviously. So be careful about doing that because that can cause shorts if you're not careful. Mm-hmm. But because you want to ensure these connections are made. What you'd really want to do is probably, I think it looks like it has a pin in it. You'd want to pop that pin out, get another pin, crimp that wire, and pop that pin into that harness connector is really what you want to do.
Right.
So going back here, if the picture does not come up when it's powered on, you can press the SW button until the RGBS appears on the screen and wait a few seconds. That sometimes helps. If it doesn't work, you can hold the auto down button for about 8 seconds and then release. And these are just some tricks on that Gombus 8200 board that most people are using for their video converters. And Tim, I have like an entire knowledge base article on those that's from the Arcade Controls forums, and I put a link down to that in the show description so you guys can get it. But that link is very valuable. It gives you a lot of tips on working with these video converters. Like we said, Tim, they're kind of cheaply made, so keep that in mind when you're using them. But there's a lot of different little idiosyncrasies that little board has, and that knowledge base gives you a lot of that information about using them. So if you do want to use them, it is a great resource for that. And I also linked to an article specifically using that converter board with Centipede that you can also look up.
Awesome.
Both those are in the show notes down below, so check those out, AJ, for a little bit more information about the converter board and about using that converter board with Centipede. A couple of things over here. Digital Jazz Arcade says, save that CRT, Paul. So we have that there. Angelina says, another abomination. Just kidding. Let's see. Nate says, I had Sharp Image repair my K7000, paid $400 Canadian, and I have to send it back this week. Chassis repairs can be costly depending on what it actually needs. That's true. So you do want to make sure that, that whoever you're sending it off to is good. Enrique at Sharp Image Repair is good. I've got a monitor that he's repaired for me. So, but sometimes, if you don't hook it up properly, that can be an issue. So always be careful of that. Nate says, I thought it might be dust bringing up as it has not been on for a month or so, but everything I turn on to test 35 minutes, just bad burning smell. So best just to take it out and send it back. Absolutely. If you send it off for repair, most repair guys, if you put it in and it doesn't work, we'll ask you to ship it back because they want to figure it out, and a lot of times they won't charge you necessarily, maybe for the shipping, but that'd be about it. So like I said, all of the repair guys that we've recommended, Tim, are all guys who take great pride in their repair. Sure. And they're not they'll charge you for the repair when they think they have it fixed, but if you don't think they fixed it, most of those guys are going to take the time to turn around and have you ship it back to them so they can figure out what's going on. You got to remember, they don't have your specific tube, right? They have one that's compatible, but not necessarily the specific tube or setup that you have for the input wires. And so while it may be working on their setup, it may not be working on yours. And so you may want to just ship it back if you ever have problems, just to make sure that everything is working properly. But Tim, anything else on monitor repairs or AJ or Gombus converter boards?
Send it to Paul next time.
There you go. So paulsmonitors.com. We're going to give you a plug right now, Paul. paulsmonitors.com. You guys can send them there. Any of Paul's really great with especially G07, Wells Gardner 49, 4600s, anything in that classic style K7000s. I know Paul is really comfortable with, so anything like that is a good challenge for Paul to tackle for you. So there you go. So you may think about that, $150, $160, not that much in the grand scheme of things, especially when you're thinking about getting a CRT working in an arcade cabinet.
Exactly.
So there you go. Well, AJ, hopefully answers your question, and good luck continuing to get that Centipede with the CRT to LCD conversion up and running. Again, those Gambas 8200 boards are just, man, they're a pain sometimes. And that's why, Tim, we always say commercial-grade arcade quality LCDs that already have 15 kilohertz signal support are a big deal.
Yeah, big deal.
For one, they're made to automatically come on with the game, and then they already have the 15 kilohertz in it, so you're not having to go through an additional board to do that. I mean, there's just a lot of good benefits to going that route. We know it's more expensive, but it does save you a lot of headache and time, like this. So, Paul says, let's see. Yeah, that being said, chassis can get banged up in shipping too. Right?
Sure.
So, like, you get it repaired by Sharp Image. They ship it to you. Well, man, it got banged up. You get it. There's stuff all over the place. You hook it up. It doesn't work. Oh, man, UPS, FedEx, whatever. Okay, yeah, a little rough with it, whatever it is. So, but definitely can get banged up in shipping as well. So, another reason why, like I said, most repair guys, Tim, I'm pretty sure all the repair guys that we recommend will take a chassis back if you pay to get it fixed and it doesn't work.
Sure.
So, let's see. Oh, there you go. Angelina, if our arcade starts to burn, we'll then just whip out some hot dogs and marshmallows. Start roasting. We talked about the joust that caught fire that we used to have. We used to have a joust that every time you turned it on, like right where the flyback was?
Yeah.
Like a little, there'd just be like...
lit a cigarette on it.
Yeah, it's like a little
cigar,
lighter.
You could,
it's just like a little lighter. Just popped on. So there you go. It happens. So, yes, but you want to always avoid burning plastic or burning smelling. If you ever smell burning, obviously turn it off, because that's never a good sign, right, Tim? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think we're all caught up in the live chat. So, Tim, this is our last of our mainline questions for tonight. And this is actually the one that has to do with the title, 30 Seconds of Galaga.
Okay.
30 Seconds of Galaga.
I like this question.
And this one is from Jade. And Jade says, my husband would like to ask you a question, please. On my original upright Galaga arcade, the fire button consistently stops working after 30 seconds. It initially will shoot normally for 30 seconds and then quits altogether, or quits working altogether. Thank you so much. Now, Tim, we have had this question kind of sitting here for a while. Okay, I'll be honest with you, because I'm like, what?
It's almost a stumper.
Right.
It's like
how would
that
the fire
doesn't
button...
make sense.
Right, how would the fire button just stop working after 30 seconds?
Right. If it never worked,
right,
we got that.
Right.
If it worked
intermittently
every 30 seconds,
right,
that we get that.
Or or if I'm shooting and it stops and shoots and stops, like if I'm getting intermittent.
But this one consistently works for 30 seconds.
Got it.
And then ends. Okay.
Right.
We think we know.
So we've done some research and we've discovered a bug, right, Tim?
Right.
So you wanna summarize this for the people here so we can talk
about
that?
I do kind of remember this back in the arcade, because people would think they had a free game.
Sure.
And they would go and they'd play. What it does is it has a demo mode, and it allows you to kind of play for just a little bit. So back in the day, people had no clue how to play some of these games.
Sure.
And it allowed you to play for just a minute, and about 30 seconds is what it gave you, because you're like, oh, this is kind of fun. I think I'll put a quarter in. I think what's happening is their game is in this demo mode that is allowing that, so occasionally it'll start and it'll play. It's wanting you to put a quarter in and continue. They're thinking it's probably on free play, and they're not sure why it's not keeping on playing. I think it's because it's in this demo mode.
Right. So after a little research, we discovered that there is a demo mode bug in Galaga, and so I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here. There's a bug that exists in Galaga that allows the player to play during the demo screen. During the demo, the top row enemies will come down and start to tractor beam up the player's ship. As soon as that tractor beam starts, the player can take control of the ship. After 30 seconds, the demo mode will complete and the high score screen will appear. And so, Tim, this information is from the Digital Press website, which we have the link there. So I think what was happening was that her husband was thinking that this demo mode was him playing the game, because he can control the ship and everything. And then after 30 seconds, what happened? It's like a reset. I can't control anymore. What you have to realize is that you were probably playing the demo mode. You weren't playing the actual game mode.
Right.
And so in order to start the game mode, make sure that you coin up the game, which is not needed, of course, if it's set to free play, and press either the 1 or 2 player start buttons to start the game. Okay, this is the way you need to start it. If you don't start it this way, then you're going to, you won't be playing a full game. It's basically what it comes down to. And so I think this is what was happening with Jade's husband's Galaga. Not 100% for sure, but it kind of seems like that.
But I bet he was really awesome for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
He got really good. Never died.
That's right.
It's awesome.
Just playing the same 30 seconds over and over. And so make sure that when you are playing arcade games, they do require, there's a reason we say coin operated, Tim. They do require coin operation. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you actually have to enter a coin. It could just mean that you flick a coin switch, right? Or if it's on free play, it just means hitting the start button. But coin-operated games do require credits to operate, and then once those credits are applied, then you have to press the start button to activate the game.
And Galaga will say free play at the bottom if it's free play. Correct. So, of course, if you find the game's manual, you can switch it into free play through that, or contact us and we can walk you through that.
Absolutely. So I think that is the answer. I'm not for sure, but after doing as much research as we can, we think that was it. So hopefully this will now allow Jade's husband to play more than 30 seconds of Galaga.
Right. And I've got to throw that out to the live chat. Does anybody remember that? I seem like I do. I would see somebody that would want to play it for a little bit. But, of course, we kind of knew it was just a demo, and we could tell somebody that never played it before, here, try it,
Right, exactly. But, if you're not as knowledgeable about arcade games and you don't realize that demo mode exists...
That would be strange, wondering why it did this every time.
Exactly. So, Digital Jazz Arcade says, that's funny. I have people try to play demo mode and walk away saying that the game is stupid. And yeah, that's the thing is that, we take for granted the knowledge that we have about arcade games. You have to remember, especially people now don't have as much knowledge about that, right, Tim?
Right.
And then, even back in the day, when arcade games were new, there were a lot of people that didn't have knowledge about that, and so they didn't realize that it took a coin. You had to insert a coin in order to play the game. They didn't realize that there were, games required you to hit start or whatever the case may be. And so, you'd have people put coins in games and then try to play, and they wouldn't even hit the start game, and they're like, "Why is this thing not working?" Right? So you had a lot of that kind of stuff. So. I think that's the case here. Hopefully that answers your question, Jade, and tell your husband that hopefully he will be able to play more than 30 seconds of Galaga going forward. So. And now we're to the point in the show, Tim, where we do our quick question and answer segment. So I've got, for those of you guys who are new, I've got 3 questions here for Tim, and these we do a little bit quicker than the ones we just went through. These are rapid fire, so that means I'm going to read off the 3 questions. Tim's going to rapid fire back 3 answers on these, and then we're gonna just get through them real quick instead of kind of taking our time. And these are ones that are a little bit more, a little bit less involved, I should say, a little bit less involved than what we normally have with the other things. But we like to save them, kind of group them all together. That way we can get through them very quickly. So here we go, Tim. Here are the quick question and answers for this episode of the show. We've got our first one from Cameron. Says, my Phoenix machine powers on but does not show credits when I put a coin in the slot. I have tried to set up on free play, but that doesn't seem to be an option either. Thank you in advance. Shannon, we bought a used NBA Showtime Blitz arcade game and everything works but the joysticks. Do you have any advice on why this might be? What should we look at? And then we have all kinds of games saying I have a Tetris arcade machine, and is there an audio on-off control? My audio does not work, but appears to be hooked up. So Cameron with a Phoenix machine that does not coin up. Shannon with an NFL Blitz NBA Showtime that does not have joysticks that work. And all kinds of games with a Tetris with no working audio. So Tim, these are all they're all in various states of non-working, I would say. So with that in mind, Tim, let's go to Cameron's first. What's going on with the Phoenix? Why can't he coin it up? What's going on? Why can't he play the game?
Well, there is no free play mode. He's right, so he can't go and switch it. But probably something is wrong, if I had to guess, with the wiring or making sure that the actual switch is being triggered as a coin goes through there. So you got to look at the wires, go into it, and know where they connect to, and also that the switch itself is good. And I think we have a video where we show a meter and how you can test one and see how it works.
Absolutely. So Shannon has the NFL Blitz, NBA Showtime, and the joysticks don't work. What can we do there?
Well, if they have the 49-way joysticks, there is a separate board that they go to, and it could be bad. But so it's either the bad board for that, look at that, physically examine it, maybe you'll see something wrong there. Or if all that looks correct, check your wiring, probably in the daisy chain, ground wire somewhere is not getting to that first one. You're going to need to do some multimeter checks from your wiring all the way back to your board and make sure that you don't have a broken wire somewhere.
There you go. And then all kinds of gains. I got this Tetris, no volume. What's going on?
Same thing. You trace the wires back to the speaker box and the game board and make sure that there's not a broken wire somewhere. There could be a volume potentiometer in between the two, and it may just be turned down. Or it may have gone bad. But that would be the best option, is to check your wiring first. I don't think it has one on the board or something. I think it's probably a physical way that it's probably just turned the volume down. Check your bottom of your game cabinet.
There you go. Okay, Tim, let me go ahead and put these up since we already talked about all of them. On Cameron's question, let's make sure those coin switches are hooked up and the correct pins are on the game board. Make sure the coin switches work as well. No free play mode on Phoenix, unfortunately, like you mentioned, Tim. No free play mode, so it is kind of what it is. You will need to coin up the game in order to play. So, on Shannon's question, check the ground wire daisy chain if you're using the standard joysticks. On the 49-way joysticks, you will need to check the I/O board. Make sure it's hooked up and working properly. And Tim, you can always hook up you can try hooking up a standard joystick to the main harness if you're using the 49 ways just to see if it works.
For sure.
And there may be a dip switch that you have to change in order to tell the game whether or not you're using the 49-way ones or the standard ones. I can't remember for sure. And if that's the case, just make sure that you've got that all set up properly. Geeklight08 says 49-way joysticks. Oh, wiring nightmare on my arch rival's cab. I do not miss it. So you can always take those out and go straight to the main board with the standard joysticks. Right. You can do the 8-way ones. You can do standard 8-way joysticks in there if you want. But the 49-way I prefer. It gives you more control. They are more of a headache, especially wiring wise. So, and Tim, I have a picture of that I/O board too, so they can see it. And then all kinds of games. Trace the wires on your Tetris from the speaker back to the game board. If there's a volume potentiometer in between, it may have gone bad or it may be turned down. And see our post on troubleshooting games with sound issues for more information. And that's a great post and video that you can check out. Has a lot more information on troubleshooting those types of issues. Tim, anything else on Cameron, Shannon, or all kinds of gains questions from this quick question and answer segment?
No, that's why they're called quick question and answer. So, but if they have additional questions, they're more than welcome to email us about it.
Absolutely. Nate says, let's see. Doesn't some boards need a good 12 volt for the volume to be okay? I definitely check the voltage on the power supply. Absolutely, and not so much a good 12 volt, yes, or a good -5 as well, depending on the board.
On the game.
So that could be the case. I'm not sure with the Tetris board if that's the case, but good voltage is always something that you want to have, right, Tim?
Yeah, good point too.
Across the board. Real Hammer Billy Lee, Showtime Blitz can use 8-way or 48-way. There's a setting for that needs to be set. This is correct. So make sure you have that setting set. If it's set to 8-way, but you're using 49-way, guess what? You're not going to work.
Right.
So there you go. I can't remember if the dip or menu setting, and this is what Real Hammer Billy Lee says, I can't remember either. It may be a physical dip on the board or it may be a menu setting. I can't remember either.
I thought it was a physical dip.
It may be a physical dip.
That's really just a guess.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you have that swapped to whatever version that you need. Manual should help you out with that. That's a sports station cab, Tim, is what a lot of people call them, the sports station. So make sure you find the manual, and it can help you out with that as far as what needs to be changed in order for that to occur. So, okay, is that it?
That's it.
Cool. Okay, so we are done with questions, and normally you go to discussion, but do you want to do presents?
Yes,
okay.
We do want to do presents. So, again, we want to wish you a happy birthday, John. Just a little
thank you.
appreciation, and thank you for all that you do.
I got to open the card.
You got to read it.
Let's see. Birthdays are like selfies. Young people love them. Happy birthday. There you go. And thank you for this. This is very handy.
I figured
Google Play Store.
I knew you probably had some games or something you could use that on.
Always. So, okay, let's see what we got in here. Oh, looks like I got a shirt too.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Oh, look at this. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Very nice. Thank you, Tim.
It's like one of those things you can't have.
Jersey. This is Jersey.
Yeah, you can't have too many Ranger shirts, right?
Absolutely. This is very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. I liked it.
I think I'm getting a new
always think if I buy you something that I would wear, I would like you probably like it too.
Absolutely. I have a hat that may match this really well.
Oh, good.
So, of course, it says World Champions on it, Tim.
Right.
Did I mention that we were the World Champions? So,
I think you have.
Yeah, okay, just making sure, I can't
we're in
say
first
that
place
enough.
right now, aren't we?
Actually, we're tied for first with the Angels, believe it or not.
Okay,
so,
wow.
Ron Washington's Fighting Angels. So,
Wow.
is what I would say. So, and the
That's
Astros
amazing.
are in last place, and that makes my heart feel happy. So, there you go. No, just kidding to the Astros fans out there. But tough. They've had a tough go at it. The Yankees swept them in the first series, Tim. So, sorry, all you Astros fans out there. But, I'm sorry that you're all broken up. But, anytime I see a trash can, I think of you. So, it is what it is. Golly, I'm just being all kinds of snarky today. Thank you, Tim.
You get away with it on your birthday.
I guess so.
Right.
So there you go. So let's see. Tell us you're old without saying, but match an arcade machine to your age. Or how about an arcade machine to my year? Let's see. I believe both of these Pac-Man came out the year before I was born. So the Pac-Man and the Galaga back here. So I can't think of one that actually came out on the year. Maybe Donkey
That's all right.
Kong.
I was old enough to ride my bike and play them.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you were born.
Donkey Kong may have came out the year I was born. I can't remember. So there you go. But no, look, Texas Ranger stuff's always good, Tim. So thank you for that, and thank you for the gift cards. So and thank you guys who have wished me a happy birthday today. It's been a good one so far, and it's not over. We got a couple other things. Tim, I don't know. I know I told you couldn't park or not to park up here. My wife actually set up the hot tub that we got a while back. It has been this long.
We have to update on it.
Right, exactly. We actually have an update. So I got a hot tub for a really good deal. If you guys watched the after show,
I gotta see this.
And it has been in the box for a year and a half now. I don't know, something like that. It's been a while. So now it is officially unpacked, inflatable hot tub. So that is what I'm going to be doing tonight. So chilling in the hot tub. So,
there you go.
Not like any of those Twitch streamers or anything like that, though. Sorry, no televised content here. Okay. It's going to be Arcade Repair Tips After Dark with me and Tim in the hot tub. That's what's
thanks.
So.
My back, maybe my back is the only reason why I want a hot tub at this age is for my back.
Right, exactly.
It's not like I want to have a party or nothing. Exactly. You know, like.
Once you start getting old and all the joints start seizing, you're like, man, I really need a hot tub.
I got a new heating pad I'm so excited about.
Yeah, you see, absolutely.
Like monstrous, this big.
Yeah, exactly. Heating pads are awesome, too. Delusional says, is that a very limited edition Rangers Championship shirt? I kid. Well, man, I tell you what, the gold jerseys, I don't know if you saw that. Man, people went nuts over those.
Yeah.
The ones that have the gold lettering on them. And, they're only like $300 a pop or something like that. Golly. I mean, it's expensive now. It used to be, there's good and bad things about your team winning, right? The good thing is that your team won. The bad thing is that everything goes up in price. So, like, seats are more expensive. Jerseys are more expensive. Like, everything's more expensive. So it is what it is. But anyway, still happy about it. Couldn't be more happy. And we're looking really good this year. Hey, we may have a chance to repeat. Sorry, Jordan Montgomery, you didn't want to join us. I understand the Diamondbacks are a good team too, but I think you backed the wrong wagon. I'm just saying. Right. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Angelina says I'm older than Pong. Let's see. GTA 5 best moments is 82. Great year. That is correct. So I was born in 82. Let's see. And I can tell you the number one song when I was born.
Okay.
I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett.
Wow, I remember that. When it came out, I remember hearing it.
Not to be confused with the Weird Al parody of "I Love Rocky Road."
Right.
Right, but yes.
Well, mine was Bridge Over.
I shouldn't sing anything.
Mine was Bridge Over Troubled Water by Everly Brothers.
Oh, there you go.
How old is that?
Not even the Simon and Garfunkel version. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like the original version or whatever. So.
Gotcha. So, let's see. Digital Jazz Arcade says I'm older than Computer Space.
Okay.
So I think Tim would fall into that category.
I think so.
There you go. Well, I mean, just think, here's the thing. I got to experience a little bit of how the arcade was, like when I was growing up. Obviously, I'm younger than Tim. Tim got the full, 80s experience, which I'm kind of jealous about sometimes, because, I don't have any memories of the arcade in 1984, 1985, when I feel like it was probably at its peak. All of my memories mainly come from the 92, 93 kind of arcades where we had Street Fighters around.
Sure.
And some of those side-scrolling beat 'em ups. And in fact, I really didn't have a love of classic games until I met Tim, and he had so many classic games, and I kind of got to where we loved them so much. But it's something that you can appreciate even if you weren't in that. But like I said, I am a little jealous that I didn't get to experience that kind of initial arcade feel of the mid 80s. So.
I'll ask this question to you, and we'll throw it out to the live show too. So, what is the very first game you ever remember playing? You put a quarter in. What game was that?
So, for me, it was a Galaga, actually. My dad was always a big fan of Galaga. So, that's one of the reasons why it's here. And so, even though, when I was a little kid, my dad would take me, we would go to, there was a restaurant in Shreveport that my parents liked to go to, and they had a Galaga arcade. That was the only one they had. So, that was the one that I remember playing first before anything.
It's funny. I can remember the business guys would be in there on their lunch break, because you'd come in and they would take their tie. They'd have their ties, and they would throw it across their back, and you'd see that tie hanging across their back, and you know that they were hurrying to play on their lunch. And I was like, what are those guys doing? What are they playing? I didn't know what some of it was. So my first game I may have ever played was probably Asteroids, maybe Omega Race.
Okay.
And two of my favorites.
Let's see what we got here. We got Geek Light 08 says Space War. Was still in Fun and Games Arcade. Encore's Arcade says Capcom Bowling. Current Phonograph says Space Invaders. And Angelina says Night Driver by Atari. All great games. So.
You know, I remember playing Night Driver too. That might have predated that Asteroids then, didn't it? Or Death Race. Played those somewhere along the line, maybe one time.
Delusional says Super Sprint.
Yeah.
Super Sprint's a good one. In fact, they're remaking Super Sprint. Did you see this? Like Atari, not. Yeah, they're making a new version of Super Sprint that you should check out. I think it's just called Sprint.
Okay.
But it is coming out soon. Let's see. Digital Jazz Arcade says Pong was the first one. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I was small probably the first time that I ever played. But my dad, the only game he ever loved was Galaga. So, like, I never played anything else. I mean, and that was the only one I remember seeing. It wasn't until I was in probably second grade that I first or second grade that I got just where I went to places and saw arcades again. You know what I'm saying? And then you know, just kind of fell in love with it after that. So, but Nate Burke says pole position. So yeah, pole position. So there you go. Good ones, all good ones. So, yeah, I mean, it's been you know, it's like I said, I remember probably the 90s better. So Street Fighter 2, I remember waiting in lines. I remember the arcade here had 3 different cabinets, and you had to wait in line to play them. Like the lines would, and the 3 different cabinets were set right up at the front of the arcade, and literally had lines at them all the time with people playing. So I mean, that was 92. When 92 happened, I mean, it was impossible. You go to the mall and you'd have to wait to play Street Fighter 2, which is just, it blows my mind. But I mean, it was so popular. I mean, it was the thing that brought the arcades back. Without Street Fighter 2, I don't know if we would have had that renaissance of other games that came after that, like the side-scrolling Konami games and like Mortal Kombat and all the rest of the stuff that came kind of after that. So
I remember walking or riding my bike probably about 2 miles to a Safeway that had a Pac-Man. And I could remember that you know, of course, we went grocery shopping every week, and I saw that game, and I was like, my mom would usually give me a quarter to get some little tattoos or something out of the machine. And I'm like, I want to play that game over there. I want to try that. And this guy was showing me how to play it, and I thought, man, this is cool. So every time I would get some quarters, I literally would drive a mile or two on my bike. And then halfway there, a gas station announced they had a Miss Pac-Man. I was like, what's that? You know, the Miss Pac-Man. I was so glad because it was only halfway there. And then the next thing I know, they were adding on to that little gas station, and that's where I had my first arcade.
Yeah, I remember arcade games at grocery stores.
Yeah, Safeway was
the Super one here that's still on Troop Highway, that's still there, had a row of arcade games, and I remember I played a lot of the Capcom fighting games there. So Street Fighter Alpha, a lot of CPS2 stuff like they had. And so instead of helping my mom bag her groceries, I would go over there and just look at the games. That was usually what I was doing. I remember when the gas station that was right down from the high school in White House where I grew up, they got a Mortal Kombat 2 there. And I remember that Mortal Kombat 2 being just so awesome. Because the only other place you could play Mortal Kombat 2 is the Mazzio's Pizza that was all the way in town. Like in the big town of Tyler, where we live now. And so I remember that being a big deal that we got one in our little town. We had a Mortal Kombat 2. So. But, you know, it's just amazing all the stuff you remember about that, you know.
Good times.
Yeah, that's right. GTA 5 Best Moments says Speed Race was the first one. Nate says, I miss arcade etiquette, putting quarters on the monitor to wait for your next turn. Yeah, all those Street Fighter cabinets had the little quarter holder things that you would put your quarters in to wait your turn. But people would physically wait in line to play. You know what I'm saying? There'd be people in line. Digital Jazz Arcade says, my first pinball I played was Evil Knievel. Angeline says, love Crazy Kong for the first board jump hack to advance to the second level within seconds. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different... I mean, that was such a, like I said, a cool time because there's so many different games. Games were coming and going in arcades. Nothing would stay around for very long, it seemed like, except for like Galaga, Miss Pac-Man and stuff. But for the rest of it, it's like stuff was always coming in and out. So you got to try a lot of different games if you had a nice arcade operator who was, you know, buying whatever the latest thing coming out was.
Sure.
So, but... good stuff. Let's see. Nate says, I played mostly the same games. Lots of CPS2, Neo Geo, Namco 256 games. A lot of mid-90s games. That was me. Playing a lot of mid-90s stuff. Yeah. You know, so early to mid-90s.
A lot of people, if they don't know us or go way back, you know, 15 or 20 years ago, remember our first... And my old arcade was set up a lot like my original arcade. I purposely had some of the same games. Galaxian, Seawolf... Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Centipede. Those were a lot in Tron that we had. And
Star Castle one time.
Star Castle, and those were it was kind of set up like that. But nothing compared to going to Oklahoma City, though, and going to the mall and seeing Aladdin's Castle.
Right,
I was like,
exactly.
whoa. I was like, well, Mom, I will see you later today. Just
That's right.
give me some quarters. I'm set. And those were some good days, good times.
And there's nothing against the redemption style of games that have become so popular now, but there was something. It was just a different time. You know, when video
we
games
really
were just
didn't have
pure.
a Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid, although I'd heard of it in showbiz.
Mm-hmm.
So some of you probably grew up in those eras, and a lot of them had real arcade games back in the day. You know,
for sure.
So those were
well, you know,
fun.
and for my brother's birthday party, we had it in Shreveport, Louisiana, because we have a lot of family there, and he had it at Chuck E. Cheese. That was before we had one here in Tyler.
Nice.
And the video I have has a lot of those mid '90s games. It has like the
fun.
Konami 4-player games and all that kind of stuff, and the animatronic Chuck E. Cheese band. Like we have video of it. So
Nice.
and they closed up the animatronic band, and then real Chuck E. came out, and apparently touched my aunt. Weird. So anyway, that's a different story. But yeah. So you got to be careful with those people in the suits sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the one in Shreveport was huge, and it had a buffet, I believe.
That's big.
Yeah, it was a big one. It was a different one. So okay. Let us go on with our news section for the month here, Tim. And there's a couple stories here. And we actually added on one kind of late, so we'll go ahead and do these real quick. The big news was that Allen One Inc. announced their Asteroids Recharge coin-op cab. Now, they didn't just announce it, Tim. They actually made it available for pre-order. Mm-hmm. And there's a 2-player version of this, and there's a 3-player version of this. So this is based on the Atari Recharge series. So Atari has remade a lot of their classic games in what they're calling the Atari Recharge series. And Asteroids was one of the first that they did. So Asteroids Recharge will be available in a 2- and a 3-player cabinet, Tim. You can see pictures here. Mm-hmm. Pre-orders for the cabinets are now open. All pre-orders require a $1,000 deposit. The 2-player cabinet retails for $64.99 or $6,499. And the 3-player cabinet goes for $12,999. Cabinets are expected to ship in the third quarter of 2024. So you can see here, Tim, $1,000. So you do a $1,000 deposit on the 2-player. You pay $5,499 when it ships, plus shipping and tax, I'm sure.
Wow.
So obviously a little out of budget for a lot of people, but probably still in budget for a lot of arcade operators, barcade operators, and things like that. So, it looks really cool. I love the cabinet design. I thought they did a really good job with it. I think it was actually at the Amusement Expo show, Tim, and so there were people there that got to actually see the physical cabinet. It got some good reviews, I heard. So, I'm excited that they're releasing these in coin-op form because I mean, it's even though you can play them at home, and there's something about playing things in an arcade. So for sure. Let's see what we have here. Nate says, will it play other Recharge games or is it just a dedicated game? As far as we know right now, it is just a dedicated game, which means you buy the cabinet for Asteroids Recharge. That's the only game it plays. I don't think there's going to be swappable cabinets with this. So that means, and mainly because of the artwork, Tim. You can see the artwork is very involved. And so I don't think you're going to be able to swap it out. I mean, you'll probably have to buy each one individually, depending on which ones you want. This is part of a partnership with Allen One and Atari, and they're supposed to do like 10 games, 10 different recharged games.
Nice.
So this is the first of 10, so there's going to be 9 more, supposedly. So I guess we'll find out. But a little steep on the price, probably for your average home user. But, not so bad on the...
Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're a Dave & Buster's or if you're an arcade operator of some sort, then it's probably not too bad. My mouse almost fell off, Tim, but we're okay. So there you go. Okay, with that, any other thoughts about this, Tim?
No, it looks cool, but boy, that is kind of steep. Yeah, we'll see. I'd rather have the original, I guess.
But I mean, at the same time, this is new. It's 2-player, which is nice. The original was only 1, right?
Yeah.
And I've not played this game specifically, but it does look cool. And Atari has really handled these recharged games very well. I feel like. So
cool.
Good stuff. Digital Jazz Arcade. Yep, not in my budget, but I want one. Totally get that. So way outside my budget too. Now, Tim, American Pinball announced that they have a new game, Barry O's Barbecue Challenge, which is, and you can find out the information here on the Pinball News website. Barry O's Barbecue Challenge is named after legendary pinball designer Barry Ausler, who joined American Pinball shortly before his death in February 2022. The table pays homage to Barry's love of barbecue and outdoor activities and is based on the playfield design he began developing at American Pinball. The game's design team also includes Steve Bowden, Dennis Nordman, and Ryan McQuaid. The game comes in a limited edition for $8,495 and a classic edition for $6,995. So, I mean, the classic edition is right around the same price as that 2-player Asteroids Recharged, right?
Yeah.
So, now this is an original theme. And, you know, a lot of people are always saying they want more original themes.
Yeah, how cool.
Right, exactly. And I think that's cool, but man, I always think that original theme should be cheaper because you don't have a licensing fee, but it just doesn't ever work out like that. It seems like the original themes are just as much. So in this particular case, though, you know, it's not unreasonably priced, especially considering the market right now. But I do think it's cool that they decide to kind of finish out this last game by Barry because, Tim, I love Barry Osler games. As far as his designs. I always felt like he was a good pinball designer. Whodunit is one of my favorites, and that's one of the ones he was heavily involved on. So, and I did get to meet him. He was a super nice guy. And he was kind of the real nerdy type, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was just really into pinball and design, and I had a lot of respect for that. He was very kind and very nice, though, in that meeting. And so I was very sad to hear when he passed away, Tim. We did cover that here on the live show, but I am glad that they're finishing up his final game here with Barry O's Barbecue Challenge.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, but there you go. I don't know if I'll be in the market for one, but I do look forward to playing it at some point. And Tim, obviously we didn't go to Pinball Festival this year. I've been telling people we're going to try next year to coordinate everything. It happens after my wife's birthday next year, I noticed, so that's going to be a big help. So I have kind of her stuff taken care of, and hopefully we'll be able to go. But there were a lot of games there, guys. They showed off a lot of different things. I know that Spooky had like Looney Tunes and some of their new games there, and then Stern was showing off their new games. Everybody was showing off the new stuff, and I heard it was great. And there was a new layout, apparently a new floor layout that really helped. So next year, hopefully we can make it. But I do miss playing new pinball machines.
Me too.
More places. So. And then, Tim, let's talk about some of the games that were shown off at Amusement Expo. And we do want to thank our friends at Arcade Heroes, especially Adam for doing all the coverage of this. And, Tim, there were two posts on Arcade Heroes' website for the booth tours. And here's some of the games that they were showing off. One was the Raw Thrills game, Marvel Contest of Champions, which is actually a very simple fighting game. And this has been a Dave & Buster's exclusive for about 5 years now, but now other operators are able to take advantage of this.
Okay.
And so Raw Thrills is putting it out for them. Amusement Source International has Thunder Attack and Sniper Strike 2. These are here you see Thunder Attack next to the Marvel Contest of Champions.
Yeah.
It's a light gun style games, right?
Looks fun.
Right. Now, InnoWise has the Cubix interactive or immersive game room. Have you seen that setup, Tim?
I have not.
So the Cubix immersive game room is literally a room that you step into that has 3 screens on the walls. Okay, have you seen this?
I have.
And you walk in and you select a game and you play it basically by physically moving around the room, right? So it is a interactive room. And they were showing off their new game for that, which is Chef Express, which is kind of like a cooking style game, Tim, where you have to pull things from this side, you know, throw it on the stove, pull things from this side, kind of thing. What's the game that I'm trying to think of that's like that? There, I can't think of the name of it. There's a game that's pretty popular. Is it Uncooked or something like that? Something like that. But there's a game that's pretty popular in that same genre that it kind of mimics, except instead of doing it on the screen, you're actually physically walking around to the screens to pick up the items and things like that. So, but that Cubix immersive arcade game room, I do want to try sometime. I don't know where the closest one would be, but it looks really cool. I'm hoping that at some point we can maybe get some video of us trying it out. Jet showed their Quick Shot, Big Shot, Mega Shot, which are basically just different light gun games. Obviously, light gun games are still very popular, Tim, with people. So, Eunice showed off their Godzilla vs. Kong Smasher, Tim, which was interesting. It's like a traditional, you think of like a whack-a-mole, but it has like life bars. Like you play either Godzilla or Kong, and you both have life bars based on how you're hitting the things. You see what I'm saying? And so to win, you have to beat... If you're Godzilla, you have to beat Kong. If you're Kong, you have to beat Godzilla.
Gotcha.
So kind of a different... Overcooked. Thank you. Overcooked. That's the game that's like Chef Express. So Chef Express is a physical version of Overcooked. So there you go. But the Godzilla vs. Kong Smasher looks very interesting. And then the IGPM group showed off Power Slap, which was basically just a boxing machine. Tim, are you familiar with Power Slap? Just the you've probably seen the videos online of people just standing there and slapping each other. So that's Power Slap, but basically they're making a boxing machine based on that thing.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's not anything special, but I just thought I would bring it up.
You don't slap anybody.
No, you just hit the boxing. You slap the boxing thing as hard as you can. And
okay.
Oh, but I did play one of those boxing games at Grand Slam, and I had a real boxer that also did it, and I had good power. I beat him a couple of times.
Wow.
Which shows off my power. It's just that I know how to hit things really well because I train martial arts, and so I gave him a run for his money on that power thing.
Nice.
So we had fun going back and forth on it a little bit and hitting it really hard. So, but I do like the boxing machines; they're fun. But anyway, so there you go. Those were just some of the games that were at the Amusement Expo 2024. If you want to see an entire list of them, you can go to arcadeheroes.com. Check out all their coverage. They have videos and everything from the show floor. You can see all the stuff that they showed off. But Tim, I think the one things that we're saying is that light gun games are still really big with kids, and that we're trying to get more immersive. So there was a lot of VR stuff shown.
Right.
The Cubic's immersive game room, of course. And then what was the floor thing that you liked so much that they showed off? That's still very popular, where you interact with the things on the floor. Can't think of the name of that. But we're trying to get these immersive experiences that are a whole lot harder to mimic at home. Mm-hmm. I think that's really what we're seeing here in the arcade space, right?
I agree.
So, but, you know, I mean, I like the fact that we're still having some traditional arcade games out there, too. Like Asteroids Recharged. So, and I'm glad that we get to see that too. So, okay, Tim. Now you sent me this one, and I put it on here for you. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about this little news nugget that you had here?
Well, something very close to home here. The oldest complete animated show from Chuck E. Cheese in Texas, at the Arlington Chuck E. Cheese, which a lot of people remember, because a lot of people in Dallas area would go there because it still had the really old show.
Gotcha.
We used to call it the 3-stage, basically show. So anyway, this is just a video that they up and closed. And so the first Pizza Time Theater location opened in Texas is closed down. There's also the 16th location established for the chain. The last day of operation was and Fielder Road was March 17th. It was used as equipment testing and training facility for managers, techs, and GMs. There's some cool 70s and 80s photos of the location in the video with a lot of arcade games like Atari's, Pool Shark, and some Universal cabs. So if you haven't seen this video, it's just a walkthrough, and he does a really good job of going back and reminiscing. I remember right here was this, and it'll show what was there. Talks a lot about the old Chucky stage. Of course, we all know that a lot of those are gone away or going away. The one here in Tyler no longer has an animatronic Chucky or anything. No stage anymore. We also know that for a fact a lot of Chuckies are going to have trampolines inside of them now. So imagine a trampoline park on top of the other chaos that's around there. And every tech's nightmare. But I remember, if you'll watch the video, you'll see the training room where I got trained as a tech. We would go there and do trainings a lot, and I worked on that show many times, and a lot of their games and stuff while we were there. We did classroom work there, and then we would actually go out and watch. So a lot of Texas, a lot of history there. It was kind of sad to see it close. It kind of closed abruptly. Nobody really got much time to go see the stage or anything again. Not sure what happened, even going to happen to all the stuff that's in there. But just a kind of a good walk down memory lane if you've ever been to the one there in Fielder Road in Arlington. Or if not, you guys probably had some similar stages in towns like in your town and stuff. Might just get a kick out of watching that video.
Now, Tim, our good friend Dave Logan says that Chuck E. Cheese was haunted.
Yes.
Do you believe this?
I 100% believe that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody knew. So it was built in an old Kroger grocery store. And it was huge, huge. And there were back rooms, and Dave Loggins will tell you, we don't know what all went on in some of them back rooms that just got on for there. But the creepiest stuff would happen back there. And a lot of times when I would go, a couple times in particular, we were doing game installs, so there were overnight adventures there, and stuff on the stage would just randomly move. If there ever was a haunted place, it probably was that location.
So Five Nights at Freddy's style Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, it was definitely, I think that's where the movie was based off of that location.
There you go. Well, and I saw some of the pictures, and it definitely took me back a little bit, because like I said, I do remember some of the early 90s Chuck E. Cheese, not so much the 80s, but...
yeah. Remember skee-ball lanes would just release a ball, it would just come rolling by you or something, we're like, some ghost is playing, or whatever, but a lot of strange stuff happened there.
There you go. So anyway, so make sure you check out that video. We do have a link to it down below, and it's got some great just information. It is kind of lengthy, and the guy does tend to ramble on. So I kind of went through it quickly. You know, like certain aspects. I kind of fast forward to all the older pictures because that's mostly what I wanted to see. So you may want to do the same. But it does have some great pictures of old arcade games in it, which is really cool.
And you'll see the training room where I literally was trained in most of my stuff.
Hey, who you gonna call, Tim?
Huh?
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
I guess so.
I don't know. Who else do you call?
That's right. That's what Digital Jazz Arcade says.
It's different, you know, because I guess it's just one of those places I connected with, and maybe people might look at it and it might not be as boring, but I just remember so much the games there and the things that we worked on, and they do a pretty good job in the video of talking about a lot of the older stuff. So if you grew up or been in that area, it was still an attraction. People would come knowing that one of the only 3 stages in the whole company was still left, and now it is no more, sadly. So
there you go. Well, Tim, I think that does it for all of the news and everything. I think we're about ready to wrap up here.
Okay.
So let me look over on the live chat. Nate says, quick question. I need to grease up my Wild Riders cab. What would you suggest? So WD-40, he says, I live in Canada, so may not have certain products. So what would you suggest for greasing the Wild Riders cabinet?
3-in-1 oil.
3-in-1, there you go. Hopefully they have that in Canada. Canada's very restrictive about the types of chemicals that they are allowed to use.
Yeah, everybody will say this. WD-40 is a great cleaner. It's actually not meant as a lubricant, but maybe you could get something chipped in. Even a dry lubricant sometimes works really good, but 3-in-1 oil we used on a lot of stuff really seemed to do the trick.
There you go. And I would think that would be available because it's a little bit less like toxic than what you get with some of the other like lubricants that you would have. So considering they already have oil there, you know, I think that may be safer. Okay, Tim, I think that's everything in the live chat. So let's go ahead and wrap it up, guys. We do want to remind people that we want your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure you put a plug in for your channel so people will know where to find you. We look forward to seeing your submissions. Tim, we actually got a submission last month.
Nice.
But I haven't had time to look at it. We haven't had time to review it, so it didn't make this show. We will hopefully have time to review it between now and next show, and we'll use it on the next show. So there you go. I'm sorry, I even forget the name of the guy. I just saw it real quick and kind of dumped it into a folder. We will review that, but I do like to get approval of everybody on our staff to make sure that we all approve of what the video stands for and all that kind of stuff. So we will look over that, and if we like it, we will play it on the next show. And if you are in that same boat where you have an arcade-related channel or videos and you want some free advertising, again, contact us, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And then we have our contact information, guys. We have our general email at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you put live show in the subject, we will save it for the show. Otherwise, we will get around to answering it whenever we get a chance. That may be the next live show, just depending. So, but best way to get in contact with us, if you're trying to get in contact with us, is questions@arcaderepairtips.com. We have our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Of course, all of you guys who are here in the live chat and watching this live, you know that, or if you're watching this after the fact. But those of you who may be listening to this on the audio podcast feed may not know that you need to go to youtube.arcaderepairtips.com to see the video version of this and to check out the after show, because we don't podcast that on the audio podcast feed. So again, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com will take you to our YouTube page and look up episode 86 to see the video for this episode. And then we have our podcast feed, Tim, that has our live shows, interviews, question and answer podcast, etc. on it. And you can subscribe on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com, or Spotify at spotify.arcaderepairtips.com, or Audible at audible.arcaderepairtips.com, or wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. Whatever your podcast listening app of choice is, if you do a search for Arcade Repair, more than likely you'll find us. And if you are so inclined, please leave a review on either the iTunes, Spotify, or Audible pages. We would greatly appreciate that. Tim, it's been almost 3 years, I think, since we've had a review. So
wow.
We'd love to hear another review. If you guys would be so kind, if you've got a good review to share, please do that. And if you want to tell us how we can improve the show, please send us an email as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts, suggestions, anything like that. Questions@arcaderepairtips.com for those. And then we have our social media pages, and we want to thank Mark for all of his contributions to the show, Tim. He obviously likes to post things about pinball from time to time on the feed, and he also interacts with us in our in our chat that we have, our staff chat. And so you can find out all of the great social media information at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com for our Facebook, or our X/Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, I can't bring myself to call it X yet.
No.
I'm still calling it Twitter. Twitter/X feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. So visit those, sign up on social media. It's a great way to keep up with when the next show is, or to keep up with just whatever arcade news is going on at the time. So, okay, Tim, well, that's about it for the regular show. We have an after show coming up where all topics are open. And, Tim, what are we going to talk about in the after show?
Well, we'll probably talk a little bit about sports.
Yep.
And some things that we've been watching. Maybe some movies and shows that we've seen. Who knows? We've got a hot tub update now, finally.
There you go.
Maybe a little bit about investing.
Hey, come to the after show. Let me talk to you about some wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay, WrestleMania is coming up, and my kids are so excited, Tim. And our good friend Mike is there.
Yes, they're live. So I hope you're having a good time, Mike.
Absolutely. And we'll be talking about TV shows, movies, sports, all those other things, or anything else that you want to talk about is free and open in the after show. But, Tim, I think we need to wrap it up here. Anything you want to say before we head out?
Happy birthday to you again.
Well, thank you. And thank you for everybody in the live chat. Thank you for being here tonight. You guys are awesome. We love when you're able to join us. Tim, we were on the first Thursday night of the month at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, which hardly ever happens, I feel like.
On time.
On time. Last month we had to delay it just a bit, but we were on time tonight. So we want to thank all y'all for being here. Thank you so much. Hands, claps for the live chat. We love you guys. Thanks for being here tonight. We look forward to seeing you next month. Again, first Thursday of the month at 5:30 p.m. Central Time is when you can normally expect us. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game,
you play the game.
So if this is your off-ramp, we'll see you next month. Or stay tuned. About 5 minutes, we'll be back with the after show. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back with the after show for episode 86. We want to thank all you guys who stayed tuned because we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. Looking forward to having some fun. So, Tim, first off, how'd you think the show went? It was a good one?
I think so. It was. It seemed like we had some unique questions, kind of different questions, and so I hope that you guys enjoyed that part of it. I did. I thought it was good.
Absolutely. So I thought we always love the questions we get from you guys. So it's always good. So, but we're back, and before we get into the media stuff that we were going to talk about, I do want to talk about how your March went. So, What did you do in March? Was there anything that stands out as something that you did?
It's just one of those months where I told you that at work I've been just so busy, and that's good though. It's job security, and I've worked 6 days a week now for weeks, and finally getting a weekend off coming up this weekend. I purposely took off next Monday. We talked a little bit about the eclipse. So Tyler is a town of about 100,000 people in the city limits, and about another 50,000 within 10 or 15 miles. So a lot of people, like I say, I live in Tyler. Technically, I'm about 10 miles out of Tyler.
Yep.
But it still looks
You're
like...
in Tyler.
Yeah.
You're technically Tyler.
Right. So there's probably about 150,000. Well, I've heard numbers up of 200,000 people in our area on top of what we have, which is double the traffic, double the everything, right?
Well, and here's the thing. We are on the edge of the line of totality.
Yeah,
and so
really
for
close.
somebody coming from the east, if they wanted to be the closest to totality, we would be the first city you would come to for totality. The first big city.
Right.
Okay, that you would come to. If you're coming from east, let's say you're coming from Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama side, we'd be the first city that you would get to if you just came straight across that's going to be at 100% totality. And so because of that, I think we're going to have a big influx of people. They're having parties everywhere. The mall's having a party. The local college is having a party. Schools are letting out. Not all of them, but a lot of schools are letting out. And so it's going to be a mass of people like all weekend, I feel.
Right.
And so
and then
all hotels are booked.
Yeah, every hotel's booked.
Can't get a hotel room right now.
Rental cars are all gone.
And Texas as a whole is expecting an influx of more than 1 million people.
Yes, Airbnbs are all out. Yep. It's like, so, just kind of getting ready for that. I'm taking off Monday because, number one, I didn't want to be out in it. Number two, I've got so much kind of administration type work. I've got some phone calls to make. I've got some training to do. I needed a day to just kind of be at home and do that. So my boss is going to let me take and just stay home that day so I won't be out in the craziness.
Do you have your glasses?
I do not have my glasses.
I'll give you some. I got some extras.
If you got a pair of extras, I guess I'll just take them.
I'll give you a couple pairs. You can take them to your wife too.
All right. So, but here's what I planned on doing. I'm worried that we're going to be cloudy and not be able to see it very good.
That's true.
But you can watch it live.
Right.
And so there's a live stream you can watch, and it's safe to watch on your TV.
Right.
So I may just watch it there as it happens overall. But if you got an extra pair of glasses, that I'll take you up on that.
American Airlines was doing flights that would take you above the clouds.
Now that would be cool.
So I don't know how much those flights were, and they're probably all booked now. But they are doing some of those.
So like local Dairy Queens, you buy a full meal deal, you're getting glasses.
Sonic.
A lot of people Sonic was doing that.
The blackout shake. Have you seen the blackout shake?
Yes, the blackout shake. So I think it's kind of fun. At first, I was kind of in the crowd of big deal. We see eclipses all the time. This is no big deal. But a total blackout solar eclipse is pretty rare. I think the next one...
And for us to be in the line of it.
Yes, exactly. They happen all the time, but for us to be in the line of it, and some of you is in the same. It's kind of splitting right diagonally across the... U.S. and all the way up, I think, in
Chicago,
New York, right?
And New York, Chicago,
and up into Canada.
Right.
So I don't know. At first I was just like, it gets dark every night. What are we? No big deal. But the more I'm kind of researched it and how rare it is, and I don't think there's anything astronomically, just it's just an occurrence that happens.
The world. What are you talking about?
But I don't think that there's anything prophetic or biblical going on. I think it's just we just happen to be where the eclipse is going to happen because they do happen a lot.
It's not the end of the world.
But you never know.
Okay.
All right, so you never know.
Okay.
But there are people that think that, and some people are coming all the way from Canada just to see it.
Right.
So if that's your deal, and if I was into astronomy. I think that this would be kind of like the Super Bowl of astronomy, and so they probably are excited. Just listening to some people talk about it on the radio who are that excited about it kind of got me at least a little more hyped to see it. It's like, okay, I can appreciate, just like we love video games. Not everybody does, but, or wrestling or whatever it is. And the truth is, I've learned that whatever somebody else is really that into, to have a little bit of appreciation for it too.
Right.
Whether it's not my thing or not, let people have their stuff. Yeah. If that's what motivates you and gets you out of bed or puts you on a vacation, makes you travel the world to see, go for it, man. Life's too short to really sit back just because you don't enjoy something to put a down on people that do.
Agreed. And I heard a guy talking about it who's traveling to Texas to watch it. And he said the coolest thing was that once everything went dark, he saw the last one. He said once everything went dark, the way the animals reacted.
Yeah.
They all reacted like it was night.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden you start hearing the crickets. Like it's night. And like it happens for like this blink of time, whatever it is.
Yeah, street lights will come on.
Right, exactly. Like all of the oddities that happen around it was what he was talking about, and that's what made it so cool. Plus he used to come with a bunch of his friends and they kind of do it as a thing, right? And so like, for him it's just a reason for him and his friends to hang out, right?
Yeah. I think it's kind of neat. This doesn't happen very often. And the truth of it, I may not ever see one again. If I'd be pretty old for the next one it happens. So, it's good to participate and just enjoy it. Just one day. It goes so fast, but at the same time, maybe somebody in the chat room would tell us if you've ever. I remember when I was a kid, we built these. We had some kind of eclipse going on. And I'm trying to guess at the year. I'm going to say 1982. 81 or 82. So right about the time I would have went to the arcades, we got these shoe boxes and we cut a hole in them. Y'all remember doing this at school? And you would take the shoe box and you could look through that. We didn't have glasses, that readily available everywhere. But then again, I was driving to work this morning. The sun was right in my eyes, and I'm like, I don't wear eclipse glasses any morning, but I'm driving right in the sun. But of course, I have my sunglasses on. I think it's a little different staring right at it at the sun.
Well, another thing is that it's dark, and then it kind of hits your eye real fast, right? Like after it, and so like I think it's that your pupils will kind of get smaller, and then all of a sudden when all that gets bigger, and then all of a sudden when that light hits you, if they're still big and you get that bright light, I think that's where the problem comes in.
Kind of a neat deal, but I don't know how we got off into all of that, just because that's one of the topics of today. But March just went by super fast. Spring break just came and gone. I don't know. I've been just working, and making some extra money while I can.
Yeah. So spring break for us, we spent the night at a hotel that had an indoor pool because my kids wanted to swim.
Nice.
So they could swim, and then Deirdre, my wife, took them to Dallas to hang out with family and things. So I mean, our spring break was good. We had Easter. We had an Easter egg hunt at the church, and got covered on the news, which was kind of cool. So we had a lot of people. Golly, it was packed.
I remember when you made the egg launcher.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't use them this year because I didn't want to hurt kids. So
that thing was powerful.
We still have them. And then Easter was good. We had a good Easter. It is what it is kind of thing. Our Easter service was more packed than I think we've ever been. We had more people, I feel like, at Easter at our church than we've ever had. It was packed. Both services. I went to both. So, which was great to see. So it's good to see. It was fun. So Easter was good. St. Patrick's Day, we didn't do anything.
I'm going to say March was kind of a busy month because Easter was early and every weekend, and then it was my birthday, then it was Dawn's birthday and Deirdre's birthday, and so it's like every weekend we had some party to go to or go to dinner or we were doing something. It just kind of went by so fast.
It did, for sure. I feel like the live show got here before we knew it.
Yeah,
so,
me really too. Did. This one went by really.
For sure. Didn't do anything like I said on St. Patrick's Day, and spring break and Easter were probably the biggest parts of that as far as what we were doing. So of course, I think last time I talked about we went to SmackDown. Or no, we were going to SmackDown the next day.
That's right.
We went to SmackDown, and it was fun. So got to see our wrestlers. My kids want to go back.
Yeah, I was going to say, did they just... Was this like
my son
highlight of their life right now?
Absolutely. So my son, my daughter, they got world championship belts, like the toy ones, and then my son got a shirt which, man, after 2 washings, like, started fading and chipping and stuff.
Oh,
so I contact support. They're going to send me a new one. So good on the WWE for that. But the experience was fantastic. We had a great time. The kids they ate it up. We got to see The Rock. We got to see Cody Rhodes. We got to see Seth Rollins. We got to see Roman Reigns and some more.
It was like watching it live.
Right.
Too. It's like.
It blew their little minds because we watch it on TV every week.
Right.
But you watch it every week and then you're there. It's a totally different. It's like I'm here. Right. Like I it's a different kind of thing. So, but they just had a ball. So they want to go back really bad, and they're super excited about WrestleMania, like I said, this weekend. And so we're gonna be watching that. It's 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. Looking forward to that. I was trying to catch Tim up on the storyline about Cody Rhodes being Dusty Rhodes' son, and neither him, his brother, nor Dusty have ever held a world title in WWE, and so that's what we're hoping is gonna happen on Sunday. So for sure, it's gonna be fun. So hopefully you guys are watching that. MLB opening day happened.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Rangers. We're off to a pretty good start. We're tied for first with the Angels right now. Astros are not doing so hot. 4-2
or 4-3?
4-2, I think.
4-2.
4-2. We've lost 2. So we've won every series, which is all I can ask of. You know? So feel bad that we missed out on Jordan Montgomery. He went to the Diamondbacks, which look, the Diamondbacks were in the World Series with us last year. So I mean, I don't blame him. And he got $25 million, which is probably more than we would have paid him. So it worked out for him. Looking forward to a great baseball season. I mean, look, we're celebrating all year because, I mean, I've still got my flag out front that says World Champions, Tim. I'm going to fly that thing until we're not.
We're World Champions until October or whenever.
Exactly. So we're going to fly that thing. We're going to fly it till it wears out.
Repeat. Then you got to listen to it for 2 years. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's a repeat, you're going to hear even more. So sorry about that. But, just looking forward to a great baseball season. It's a long slog, Tim, but I love it. I love every minute of it. I love it. Dallas Stars, Tim, if you want to talk hockey real quick, they clinched the playoffs.
Yeah.
We're in.
They're very good.
And I think I've said this before, Tim, but if you don't watch playoff hockey, man, it is like the best thing ever. Playoff hockey, to me, may be the best of the playoff style professional sports. There's something about playoff hockey that is so exciting. It's fast. It's like the ice shrinks, and everything gets that much faster, that much more intense. You just
very loud.
And it's loud. You should be watching playoff hockey.
So, did you watch March Madness?
So, I didn't fill out a bracket. I didn't.
That's me. I was kind of disappointed because all these people at work. And what's funny is you guys have these work pools where some people are really dedicated.
Right.
And then some people, because we had 100 people and 8 of them picked NC State in the Final Four. How, it's like, do you watch any basketball at all?
Right.
I mean, it's just a miracle. And so, anyway, I'm disappointed that I didn't really get into it because normally I do.
Right.
But I did catch more. You know what I've enjoyed more than anything is a little bit of the women's.
Caitlin Clark, huh?
I love to watch Caitlin.
She's amazing.
She is fun to watch.
Yep.
And when they played LSU, that was a battle.
Right.
And, I'm just saying that I can see myself, normally when I'm watching, I like to watch the Mavericks, but I could see eventually when she's in the NBA to see her.
WNBA.
The WNBA, I could see her and going, I want to watch some of this game. She brings that kind of excitement, makes me want to watch women's basketball, which is great.
Yes.
It's a great thing.
Absolutely.
It's a great thing.
I think they said, the game with them and who they played, the last game that they played was the most watched women's basketball game ever.
Or probably at LSU.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was LSU.
That was a great game. And so I'm looking forward to to maybe watching the championship game. And so, there's a lot going on. Like you said, it's almost like you have to purposely, you have to pick and choose what you have time for. And then we'll talk about in a minute just some shows I've kind of gotten into. So lately, I've been getting home at 7 or 8 o'clock at night and just watching one show and then going to bed, or doing a little more work on my computer or something. So it has been that kind of life.
Let's talk Mavericks just real quick. And the only thing I want to talk about is that sequence that I posted on my Facebook page that I think you saw.
Oh, yeah. The alley-oop.
Yes. No, it wasn't just the alley-oop.
Yeah, it was the whole sequence.
The whole sequence. And I watched it live. And me and my wife were talking, and I'm watching it out of the corner of my eye. And all of a sudden, I just go, what? And as loud as I can. And my wife is like, that was loud. What did you just see? I'm like, I saw this. And what it was is Luka stealing the ball.
Right.
laying and then basically going down his back, passing the ball behind his head while on the floor to Kyrie Irving, who then lobs it over to defender for I can't think of the guy's name, our center guy, to get the alley-oop.
Yeah.
This sequence is like one of the most amazing basketball sequences.
It was like the Harlem Globetrotters or something. It's like you drew it up. It's like, but they just did it in a split second.
Right.
One of those plays that are. It should be play of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing because Luka is his defense has gotten better. He struggled with defense, I feel like, the last couple of years. This year, I think he really turned it on. So he goes for the steal, falls on his back, and literally passes the ball directly behind his head while on the floor to Kyrie Irving, who dribbles up, does not take the layup, lobs it up over the defender who's trying to block the shot to the center, who then dunks it in.
When I saw that video, my first reaction was, that looked like something off of NBA Jam.
Yeah.
It was like a boom shakalaka.
Yeah,
It was like, what the heck? The ball was going way up there, and guy just comes and slams it. It was like, what the heck?
Yeah. It is an unreal play. If you've not seen this play, you need to find it. And guys, the Mavericks, we're not the best team, but I can tell you what, we're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
and we're competitive.
Right, if you just want to watch some fun basketball, just watch the Mavericks. It's just fun basketball.
Yeah.
And in that game, you realize the Mavericks had 14 dunks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dunks for an NBA game,
is.
right? They were going up and just dominating the rim. And that's not something they normally do, but that game was so much fun to watch. I think they were just feeling it. You know what I'm saying? They were just feeling it. It was amazing. So, if you want a team that's fun to watch, the Dallas Mavericks are it. I mean, there's a lot of great teams out there that can score, that can shoot three-pointers all day and stuff like that. But the amount of fun that you get with these guys is just incredible. So if you want to watch a fun team, Dallas Mavericks, and if you're looking for a fun baseball team to watch, I'm telling you, Texas Rangers. That's where it's at.
And then, there is some pro football going on right now.
That's right, the UFL.
Did you see where the guy, it's like he hadn't kicked a field goal in 20 years or something? He kicks a 63-yard game winner. I was like, what the heck? So, I don't know. It's just, I just saw the highlights, so I'm like, I need to watch one of the UFL games. And I haven't watched one yet, but those look like they're going to be. And is it, I didn't know if it was an April Fool's joke or if it's true. Have you heard that the NFL is adopting some of the playoff,
they are.
the kickoff
The kickoff,
things?
they're adopting the XFL kickoff.
I read it on April Fool's, and I was like, is this true? They are adopting that, is what I heard was true. So
and it's better.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it gives the guy an opportunity to run. So basically, everybody
it almost forces you to run.
Right, exactly. It forces you to run, which is what it should happen. So basically, both teams line up at and I forget where it is. It's not where the ball is being kicked off. It's maybe 20 yards up from that, and then you only have one guy in the backfield who receives the kickoff, and then once the kicker kicks it, both teams can move downfield. But that gives the guy who's catching the ball an opportunity to run no matter what, and it also cuts down a lot of injuries. Yeah, is what they were saying.
So what's cool is, I noticed this in the NFL last year, especially because we follow the Cowboys. I would notice that when the other team was kicking off to the Cowboys, the offense was already coming onto the field. It was like, you knew it was going to fly in the end zone. They were going to go take it at the 25. It was like they were halfway out there and the ball still kicked in the air. It was like, it got to be just every time Dallas kicked off, he would kick it out out of the end zone.
Right.
And so I think it will bring a little bit more of excitement and an opportunity to maybe at the end of the game, you could have a good run back or something and set you up for some.
It has worked. It worked really well last year in the XFL. They still use it in the UFL, and I think it's going to work great for the NFL too. Because like you said, in the NFL, you might as well just kick it out every time because there's really no benefit to having the guy catch it in most cases.
No.
And so that's what this does.
Even if he caught it, he would just, or just catch it in the end zone. He hardly ever ran.
Right, exactly.
It was like
catch or whatever.
A kickoff return was so rare. It was like, what?
So I think that'll help. But no, they did adopt that. The Rock actually talked about that because, he's the owner of the NFL. He talked about how they adopted the kickoff. So that is happening, Tim. That is
okay, good.
So,
I didn't know. It's like I read it on April Fool's. I'm going, everything that day I read with a grain of salt. It's like everything. I was like, I don't know what's real news today and what's not.
Right, exactly. You always have to be careful. The Arlington Renegades are 0-1, Tim. We lost to the Birmingham Stallions, I think. So I did watch the game. We got outplayed.
The two best teams from the year before, right?
Yes. Yes, from the team that won the USFL championship and the team that won the XFL championship. Now, they are totally different teams. We should say that. Not a lot of the players are returning. But one of the things we saw with the Renegades last year, Tim, is they got off to a slow start and they adapted really quickly. And
that's Bob Stoops.
I was about to say, Bob Stoops seems to be like that. He's like, I'm going to adapt really quickly. And so I have no doubt that they're going to be competitive moving forward. But, Birmingham was good. They looked good. Our defense didn't look great. They were able to score on us pretty much at will. I won't say at will, but, we stopped them some of the time, but they definitely outplayed us in that aspect of the game. And then our offense was middling at best. They tried to run it a lot, and the throws were thrown into coverage a lot of times. So I don't know if our quarterback was able to make the adjustment to see coverage really great or whatever. So, but like I said, the one thing after watching the Renegades, for 2 seasons now, the one thing I can tell you is Bob Stoops and his coaching staff make adjustments quickly. So, it'll be interesting to see going forward what's going to happen with that. And then I don't know if there's anything else I want to say about WrestleMania, except for you guys should watch it because it's going to be awesome.
You said it's on Peacock.
It is on Peacock. So you can get the added support version of Peacock. I think it's $6 or $7 a month. Let's see. What else? Or you can get the ad-free version for $12. So I upgraded my subscription just this month to the ad-free version.
Okay.
And the reason why is if you're watching WrestleMania, you've never watched wrestling before, you should get the ad-free version because
it's a lot of ads.
Well, the reason why is because all of the if you have the ad version, they play ads before every match instead of showing you kind of like the history of what's been going on to build up to the match. Okay. And that's what you want to see. You want to see the build up, especially if you're not totally familiar with the story.
And cancel it next month.
Right, exactly. Look, $12. WrestleMania 2000, me and my brother, I think, paid $80 for that, okay? And that was back in 2000.
Right.
So, $12 is nothing, right?
Right.
Spend your $12. And you can watch other things on Peacock.
Sure.
Some of you guys still have Peacock left over from when the Kansas City Chiefs were playing.
Right.
If you still have that, just keep it going. So, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. Again, we mentioned it. Hot tub update. It's set up out in the carport.
All right, so it's warmed up and ready to go.
So we're gonna give it its first spin tonight on my birthday.
How fun!
Yeah, finally. So and I got a really good deal on it. It was very cheap at the time. It was off season, and so like I said, no arcade repair tips after dark or anything. I don't think we're ever gonna broadcast from it, Tim. But I just want you get old, like you said.
Yeah,
it's nice for joints and everything else. So Alan says the Birmingham Stallions are going for a three-peat. Could be. Yeah, I think they won the first 2 in the USFL, and so this could be the. They could. The way that they looked against Arlington, I wouldn't be surprised. But I will tell you, like I said, teams will adjust. So you always have to watch out for that, right, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. TV shows, movies, real quick. What do we got?
I've been watching The Tourist. Have you seen it, or you know anything about it?
I may have, but you'll have to tell me.
Okay, so it's shot in Australia, so they all speak with Australian accents.
Okay, I have not watched this then.
Okay, somebody in the live chat will help me. There's a girl that plays in it. She's been in a couple movies, and the guy, I think he was in 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know much about him, but I know him when I see him. Anyway, basically, the movie starts off, and this is not giving anything away. He is in a wreck, and he wakes up and cannot remember who he is. Okay, so, and she's a police officer, and she kind of helps him, and when he discovers who he is, he's not a very good guy. Okay, so it's like, but this guy that she likes is a really good guy. And so how much can a person change like that? It's kind of a really good story. It's got some good villains and stuff in it. Netflix, okay, and so that is one. This next one is also on Netflix. It's called The Gentleman. Gentlemen, I really got into the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I've really backed off now. I don't know why. It grabbed my attention at first. You know the premise here.
I think I've seen at least the thing for this one.
Yeah, it's about a guy that inherits this English. Somebody will shoot me for the Scottish or whatever countryside estate. And he becomes a duke. But just because you inherit this huge property, he realizes you got to make money.
Right.
I mean, 600 years it's been in his family, but he doesn't really. He was a soldier in the military. He doesn't make a lot of money.
Right.
And he finds out his family has money because underneath of that 600-acre estates is a huge pot farm.
Oh.
And so he's like, money's good. All we got to do is let them buy the rent. We don't fool with it. We're not drug dealers. But at the same time, how he gets involved with it, and with drugs come scrupulous people and in and out and all this stuff. But then at some point, how do you get out? And so it's kind of different. It's really different. So if you'll just watch the trailer to it, you'll see most of that, and you might like it.
So I've been watching the same stuff I was watching last month. I really haven't changed much, so I don't want to go over too much of that. I did pick up. I at least watched the first episode of the second part of season 2 of Invincible on Prime Video, which is really good. And I want to watch Roadhouse, the Roadhouse remake on Prime Video. I have not seen that yet. Have you seen this?
I've seen the previews, but I have not watched
Jake
it.
Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, it looks kind of interesting. It's got my attention, and I'll probably watch an episode. Just haven't made it there yet.
Yeah, it's not an episode. It's a movie.
Okay.
So you'll have to watch it all.
Okay, it's a movie.
And then I am going back and binge watching X-Men, the animated series. Tim, I watched this when I was a kid. I loved it. And now I'm rewatching all the episodes because I want to watch X-Men 97, which is basically the continuation of that they just came out with.
Right.
So they're releasing episodes every week of that. So on Disney Plus. And so I am on season 5. I started season 5, the last season of the animated series last night. So I am almost completely caught up. The thing about X-Men the Animated Series, it used to come on Saturday mornings. I would watch it every Saturday morning with my mom, who loved it as well. And it was never canceled. They basically renewed it for so many episodes. I think it was 64 episodes. And once the 64 were done, they just ended it. Mm. So, it wasn't... So, they got to end everything on their terms, Yeah. But it picks up... X-Men 97 picks up right where that one left off. So, it literally picks up in the same place. So, it's a continuation of it. And I'm looking forward to watching it. I know a lot of you guys might be doing that right now. But I wanted to rehash everything before I started the new one. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm watching all the stuff I was watching last month. Night Court, Abbott Elementary, Ghost, Animal Control. All those I'm still watching. But no movies. I didn't really watch many movies this month.
Me either. But there is a show that I didn't mention to you yet. And, I'll be the first to admit it, that sometimes I like to watch a show that my wife likes, but we can both watch together, like Love is Blind or something like that. It's a little drama and stuff. But you know what? We have really enjoyed a show called Love on the Spectrum. Have you heard or seen this?
Yeah, this is with people with autism, right?
People on the autism spectrum, and they get them together and they date and see if they can be compatible. And it's just cute. I don't know what else to say. And it really has you rooting for them. And you're thinking, and I'll just be kind of blunt. My nephew is on the autism spectrum. And before I'd ever heard that word, I knew when he was very small that he was going to be different. But he can draw like amazing. It's amazing some of the stuff that he can do. And now it's very common. We know a lot of people. And I think probably all of us would have to, it's called a spectrum for a reason. We all have little quirks or something that we do. We're kind of all on the spectrum, but some people, these are mildly severe cases where they're having trouble with their social life and dating. Sure. And so I just think it's a fun show to watch. I really find yourself, you're like, this is the one. Man, she's checking every box. And that's something, though, that a person on the spectrum, they would see that as, oh, okay, you like X-Men. Oh, you like wrestling. Right. Oh, you like video games. Oh, you don't like nature. Sorry.
Right.
It's like,
breaker, right?
Right, deal breaker. Bye. And you're thinking, wait, that person's perfect for you. And so sometimes they have to learn it's okay that you don't, they think everything has to match and be in common because that's what they're used to. Structure, things in their life all matching if anything gets out of sort. So they have to learn, no, you have to appreciate when you have to let somebody else talk sometimes.
Yep.
You have to know what they're interested in. And I think all of us that are married, we get that, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to go places, do things that wouldn't normally be our thing and vice versa.
Yep.
But anyway, so if you just want to watch something fun, and I think it's cute, and it really will get you kind of just rooting for certain people to find love. I think the truth is that watching that show, there really is somebody for everybody, no matter what your orientation is or whatever, that everybody needs a person. Mm-hmm. And even if you're just friends, you need a person that you can hang out and do stuff with. I don't think we're meant to be alone. I think we're meant to have somebody in our lives.
For sure.
And so, anyway, just a fun show if you ever get anybody out there gets a chance to watch it.
For sure. Sounds good. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Angelina says Resident Alien, which is, I've heard is really good.
I want to see
Griselda,
that.
Ozarks, and The Get Down are the ones that they recommend. And
I want to see Resident Alien. In fact, I'll probably watch that this weekend and start it.
And it's got that guy in it that I really like, and I can't think of his name in it. He's the main character in it, and he played the bad guy on Doom Patrol Season 1. I can't even think of his name, but I love him. Is it Alan something? But I'll think of it. So, but yeah, good stuff, guys. Looking forward to next month, and we'll be back here first Thursday night of the month, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. That's gonna be 4 weeks, Tim. I looked it up. The next one will be 5 weeks, but the next show that we have will, I always like to look it up just because the next show we have will be on the 2nd of May.
Okay.
Tim, that seems really far off, but it's gonna travel fast.
It will get here fast.
And if you have any questions between now and then, again, questions at arcaderepairtips.com. Want to thank everybody for being here tonight again. Just wonderful having everybody here, interacting with us during the show. It was fun. And we look forward to seeing you next month. Take care, everybody. Peace out. We're out.
Bye-bye.